we are gonna move these meetings fast anyway.
We are?
We don't need to be sitting
Express.
or standing.
Okay.
Yeah, get down. Good evening, everybody. It's now 6:30, and we'll call the tonight's planning board meeting of June 2nd to order. I will ask Scott to take the roll.
Yes, in attendance, we have Gail Over, Dave Olet, Rich McNeil, Councilor Mike Conant, Doreen Richards, Gary Dion, Charlie St. Clair, Jacob Roy, Mike Little, Amy Levisick, Director Rob Mora, Assistant Director Tyler Carmichael, and Planner Technician Scott Pelchat. I'll be taking minutes this evening. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So we don't need to seat an alternate tonight, since the vice chair is here. I think, right? No, wait a minute, you're the vice chair. Who's the vice chair? The vice chair is here since the new member's here. Sorry. That was so long ago. We did that, like a week or a month. Look for a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
So moved.
Seconded. Seconded by Dave. Any discussion? All in favor? Raise your hands, please. Okay, all in favor. We have one abstention.
Yeah, I wasn't here, so.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Gail. Okay, we'll move right along now to 8.1. No, are they not here?
So 8.1, sorry. 1206 Old North Main Street needs to be re-noticed, so the planning board cannot hear it tonight. So I would make the request that the planning board continue the application until next month.
Look for a motion for that.
Second.
Motion made by Gail and seconded by Amy. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll now go to 8.2. That's PB 2026-032. Okay, well, that was, train came in.
Ready to clean out a house?
That was Pickerel Pond Road, 13-183-16. The applicant is proposing a cluster subdivision with 26 single-family lots. Look,
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself, but I'd like to reserve my right to speak as an abutter.
but you're the vice chair. I'm kidding. Thank you very much. So noted.
If you would like, you can seat Mike Little.
Okay, now Mike, you're seated. Thank you. Okay, temporarily, of course. We need to accept this, correct?
You will, but there is.
There are, so on the staff report, there are 2 waivers. There are actually 3 waivers for the application. 2 waivers that are on the staff report or are from the subdivision regulations. The 3rd waiver you will have to handle in the application itself, as it's a waiver for the conditional use permit for their buffer. So once they make their presentation, you can act on that before you make any final decision on the application.
So we'll get the first waiver?
So you'll do, so you can, should you decide to approve the 2 waivers, then accept the application as complete, you could move on and listen to everything else. Then there will be a 3rd waiver you could act on if you were taking any action, any other action on the application this evening.
It's worded as a waiver in the zoning ordinance, but it is not like a waiver from the subdivision
So
regulations.
forgive my, we don't get these too often. Do you bring up the waivers, or do they bring up the waivers?
They're going to discuss the waiver as it's part of their application in their presentation.
Okay, so we are not going to accept right now.
So the first thing you need to do is act on the 2 waivers that are presented on the staff report, and the waivers are from 6.22 of the subdivision regulations and 6.5 of the subdivision regulations.
My problem is this is not divided for me, so I've got to look for this now.
The first one is granite curbs, right?
Yes.
Yes.
They're looking to deviate from the required granite curbing and use Cape Cod berm curbing instead.
Can you,
Okay,
can you
and then
pass?
And then the
second-
other one is to not construct a sidewalk. Basically, they want to use a 4-foot shoulder off the side of the road and delineate that with a fog line rather than constructing a whole separate sidewalk for the development.
On the main road?
No, within the development.
Within the
put any
development.
dividers
Okay,
in
thanks.
Yeah.
And then he can get into more details. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm in the right place on my screen here. Thank you.
That's what I'm waiting for too, Gail, if you bear with me here a second.
It should be after that.
So you keep, so, yeah, keep that separate.
That's the wrong application.
That's for 1206.
That's what happens when you don't get colored paper, it's not easy.
Wasn't in the budget.
Well, we
Well,
always return
with
ours.
that, we just got brand new staff as well. So she didn't know that.
I should have
provided
noticed that this morning, but I didn't.
I don't know.
Keep going.
Why is the staff report not?
Keep going.
You got it on there.
Keep going. There it is.
Staff report from the beginning. Oh my God.
Gotcha, there you go, yeah.
I just don't want the old stuff back, that's all.
Page
Well, the
4
stuff
and
we've already
5,
done.
Page 4 and 5.
I'll hold
Not
this.
on that. Thank you very much, Rob. Much appreciated. Now we can.
iPads are super simple.
Okay, so this is, the first waiver is section 6.2.2 of the subdivision regulations. This is a request to deviate from the required granite curbing and use Cape Cod berm curbing instead, to use Cape Cod berm and curbing instead. Can you explain?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the.
If you can give us your name too and your
Yep.
address.
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Loring. I'm with Benchmark LLC. We're the engineers on the project. I'm here tonight on behalf of the owners applicants, the Parade REI LLC. With me in the crowd is also the two owners, Peter Grenier and Tony Dion, and attorney John Cronin. So if there's any, after the presentation, if there's any questions that they can also field, they're here for that support. The project before you tonight is Heron Point Preserve. It's on Pickerel Pond Road. It's a 150-acre undeveloped parcel. It is in the RR1 zone. And I guess before, do you want me to go through the presentation and do waivers at the end, do waivers now?
No, do the
right
waivers now, please.
Okay.
that you're asking
So,
for.
as Mr. Moore spoke about earlier, we do have 3 waivers. The first 2 are the site plan and subdivision waiver requests. The first of those applications is the granite curbing. And that is section 6.2B, and it's also in the DPW details. It's detailed D4. We are asking for, to replace the granite, substitute the granite curbing with Cape Cod berm. This is gonna be at the edge of the roadways. Its really main purpose is to transport, there's gonna be closed drainage system, so catch basins. It's to keep that water in the street, in the curb line, and get it into the catch basin. So function-wise, the granite curbing and Cape Cod berm function the same. There's no any other curbing in the vicinity. There's no granite curbing or anything that it's gonna look out of place. Pickerel Pond Road is kinda half gravel, half paved, so we're asking for the waiver to allow the use of Cape Cod berm. And we have details in the plan set. It's been reviewed at the TRC meetings, and there's really been no comment. It was pretty much the DPW had said if the planning board's okay with it, that they had no issues.
So just to be clear, because in case anybody's watching it, they can't visualize what they're gonna look, that looks different.
Yeah, so Cape Cod berm is the asphalt, it's a bituminous asphalt berm that you see. So it's black curbing, it looks the same color as the road itself versus the
And how-
vertical granite curb.
How does that stand up to Father Time as compared to
It's
the
used
granite?
all over the state. It's a pretty common substitution for granite curbing. Typically, the granite curbing is when you need a separation to the sidewalk. That's where that comes into play. But as far as functioning as a curb, the Cape Cod berm is.
And who would be responsible for it if it was to wear down for whatever reason, start to crumble or get hurt by frost or something like that? Is that something that the company would fix, or does that get moved over to
So
residents?
these roads, as part of this subdivision, we are trying to do them as public roads. So they would be the responsibility after the town, after the process, it would come back, be reviewed, inspected during construction. It'd be reviewed again by DPW at the final punch list, and there's a whole procedure for the road to get accepted, and then it finally would go to the city council, so.
Gail?
Just a quick question towards that end. So this is Cape Cod, oh, I'm sorry. This is Cape Cod berm on the road you plan to construct on the cul-de-sac, but it has nothing to do with Pickerel Pond Road itself.
Nope, just the new roads.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Gary?
Yeah, just got a question. At night and in bad weather, to delineate the edge of the road from the curb that's the same color, would you white stripe it or something? Where would the delineation be?
We do have, on a minor road like this, there's typically not any line delineations. It would just be, with what we're also, the next waiver, the sidewalk, we do have a fog line on one side to kind of give that 4-foot shoulder, a little extra space. Our roads are proposed at 28 feet wide as opposed to 24, so we have the two 12-foot travel lanes and the 4-foot shoulder.
Okay.
So to answer your question, no, there's nothing special that gets added
just
in. There is street lights.
That was my next question about streetlights, okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
That's a good question, Gary. Anybody else? Anybody else? Staff, what is your opinion on this? Besides, I see shaking heads over there, but I never know what that means.
They did discuss these with DPW, and DPW was supportive of these.
And, all right, so you, no issues with the department?
Nope, DPW supported them. So DPW supports it, I support it.
Okay. Go ahead, Gail.
Are you ready for a motion? I was going to make,
I think so. I don't think there's any other discussion. Go ahead, Gail.
I make a motion, we approve the waiver as requested for the granite curbing.
Is there a second to that? Seconded by Jake, okay. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hands. Unanimous, okay, thank you. I almost asked what you're doing, but then I remember you're here.
Yeah, Charlie, I don't think I have a copy on this of the second waiver. On the, what page is it on if we're on the,
It's like 5 and 6.
huh?
They're page 5 and 6, I think, in the packet.
I don't have a packet. I
It-
have
it's
what's
page-
online.
It's
and-
page 1 of the staff report, all the way up at the top. Waivers, that was the first one, and then the next one
Oh,
is
there it is.
just below it. Yep.
Wait a minute. No, I'm looking at the wetlands. We're not discussing that one, though. We're only discussing,
The staff report, not the planning board.
oh, it's down below in the staff report.
No, go back and.
If you go back to the agenda center, it'll be right there on the staff report.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure I can see what I'm maybe
I don't
voting on.
look electronically, I'm just doing this right here.
I have a quick question, I guess.
Oh, this is
DPW
North
didn't have
Main.
any issues with plowing the extra 4 feet? I mean, that
Nope,
cleans up a
they-
sidewalk for
they
them.
thought it
Wait, we haven't got to that yet.
Okay, I got it.
If we can wait
No.
to discuss this when we're all talking about it, thank you. Because I want to
now- I
hear
got
from the applicant what they're proposing here for this waiver or why. So we all set, everybody? Gail, you
I'm
all
sorry,
set?
yes, thank you.
All right. All right, so now we're going to go to number 2, the second waiver they're looking for is section 6.5 of the subdivision regulations. This is a request to deviate from the requirement to construct a sidewalk and use a 4-foot shoulder with a delineated fog line instead. And before you get into that, because I'm not big on excusing sidewalks, but I almost wish you would just say, you just want a different kind of sidewalk.
So the way I look at this, it's two parts, right? Because the regulations require sidewalks along the frontage of Pickerel Pond Road. So that's kind of the first part of the waiver. The second part is we're trying to do something. So we're before, I'm not sure if there's a lot of new faces here. We were in conceptually for this, and we did discuss this before the board for our conceptual presentation. And I guess what we're trying to do is there's no sidewalks in the area. We're trying to minimize, kind of thinking out of the box, what can help DPW that they can plow with a plow truck as opposed to having a trailer, a sidewalk plower up. I think we were talking Elm Street is the nearest sidewalk, so they'd have to bring something to clear those all the way up to this,
But
so it's a
if-
few miles away.
But if I can interrupt, I think what you're proposing is just a different kind of sidewalk, because you're gonna have it marked, you're gonna have a line going down it. So people are gonna see that anybody with a clear mind will know that that's where we're walking, that's the sidewalk.
Yep.
So what you're proposing is just to make it easier for the city to plow that area.
Yes, that's
The
correct.
sidewalk will technically still be there, it just won't be raised.
Yeah, so it's really a shoulder, it's an extension of that other road. So it would be, you could,
I just, because I don't want this to
I
come
guess it's
back.
how you look at it, but
Well,
it's,
it's very important how we look
Yep.
at it, because there will be other people following you saying, well, we don't want a sidewalk either, and, you know, what are we doing, or whatever. So I just wanted to point that out. Did you have anything else on that?
so really what I just want to add on the sidewalks in general, we've done a lot of these style developments, and a lot of the input we have that comes back is people don't even like the sidewalks. They end up walking in the road anyways because the driveways here, there's tip downs if you have a traditional sidewalk at every break for the driveways. So what they end up is they say, we walk in the roads anyways. These are dead-end streets ending in cul-de-sacs. It's really just local traffic is the people that live there. And they, you know, if this is public road, in private road cases, we get stuff from HOAs and condo associations, and they say, can we get rid of these? And this is kind of just what we've seen progress and evolve over the years is really what people want is just a wider road so they can walk where they want.
As long as it's deviated, because if not, and they get hit, they'd probably be saying something else. You had a question?
I did, and this is for staff.
Well, wait, hold on. Let's just, are any more questions are there any questions for the applicant there on the waiver? Gail?
Just one quick one, same thing. So how much of Pickerel Pond Road is this development actually gonna use? I mean, what's your frontage?
So I can show you
I mean,
this.
how much waiver are we asking for?
So there's no sidewalks
I know that, yeah.
on here, so, but each one of our proposed roads will have that
Okay.
sidewalk built into the road.
And the property, so the waiver you're requesting, I'm only talking about what you want on Pickerel Pond Road now. You would want from there, this is not yours, yes?
No, this is all of ours.
Scott, can you get the
This
camera
frontage
So
here.
you would want this frontage
Yep.
from here to here on Pickerel Pond Road. You want us to waive the sidewalk for that?
That's
And then your second part goes down into the cul-de-sac?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make clear on what I'm waiving and where. About how much is that? Maybe half a mile, if that?
Yeah, it's about
It's not a
1,000
huge
feet.
amount,
Yeah.
you know?
Good question. Rich, you had a question?
So will you mark this somehow so that you've got a 4-foot sidewalk, yet people can still park in there and encroach in that sidewalk? You can't park on a city sidewalk in town here. So how do you eliminate that being used as a parking spot?
The way we were calling it, that's part of the waivers, this is a 4-foot shoulder, so it's being treated as a traditional shoulder with the white fog line, and it just gives an area for pedestrians to walk. It's not technically a sidewalk, but it gives an area, so you flow of traffic, you have your two 12-foot lanes, and then you have your 4-foot shoulder, just like if you were to walk down the side of Parade Road with their wider shoulders there, or something along, not much less traffic, obviously, but it's on that same idea, and then it can be.
So for us, for parking.
Can you just give us your name?
Yeah, I'm sorry, my name's Pete Grenier, I'm one of the owners. So as for the parking in that area, there would be, you know, we'd have to delineate that 4-foot section with the fog line, but we'd also put in like a pedestrian walking person that you would see going down that section,
Okay.
so that it would apply as a sidewalk, so that you
Okay.
see it and say, hey, there's no parking there.
Perfect,
So,
perfect,
Yes.
perfect. Anybody else? Another question?
No, that was my question, really, just about if it's gonna be like a bike lane. I mean, if you think about it with the markings on the ground.
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No, you had a question for
The only
staff?
question I had was if you're calling it a sidewalk, is it gonna meet the ADA compliance? Because that, in order to have a sidewalk, it has to be up to those standards, correct?
So it's not technically a sidewalk.
That's what I mean. If we're gonna
Right.
call it a sidewalk, it's a sidewalk, or if we're not gonna call it a sidewalk, doesn't have to meet the compliance, so it's kind of a.
Yeah, it's technically
Curious
not
about that.
separated from the road, so DPW wouldn't classify it as a sidewalk, because if they were to classify it as a sidewalk, then they have their whole other regulations regarding of how that needs to be constructed. This is really just an
So the
extension of the
variance
road.
All right, so
That it's
we'll,
not a sidewalk.
we'll pretend that it's not a sidewalk, but again, I think the developers are doing a good job providing a area that is marked as such.
An alternate walkway.
Yeah, an alternate, beautiful, alternate walkway. So that works. Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the, how about for the staff? Anybody else have a question for the staff?
This is only presented in one waiver, you guys, so you're, instead of broken up into A and B, meaning, you know, you're asking us to approve really two waivers in my mind, or two-part waiver.
Well, it's really just the one because it's technically not a sidewalk, so we're just waiving the sidewalk.
Okay. Thanks.
Waiving the sidewalk with a new sidewalk. Oh,
Yeah,
a
with a
pretend
new-
sidewalk. It works. It all works. I just don't want this to come back at us. You know,
I hear you.
Because I
mean,
can already think of one particular developer who's going, why the hell didn't I think of that? And, but it wouldn't have worked where he was.
Well, and that's the difference. Location matters,
Yeah,
you know, so that's all.
okay. All right, look for a motion.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sure, certainly.
So,
Doreen.
I mean, we keep saying it's not a sidewalk. The whole purpose of the word delineated sidewalk is what really separates it, correct? So that's what we're identifying.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion or questions? Look for a motion. Anybody want to make a motion?
Probably not going to say right. I would like to make a motion to approve.
That'd be Doreen. Okay, go
I'm
ahead, Doreen.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
The section 6, hold on. Waiver section 6.5 of the subdivision regulation, as, I need to find what I'm reading. Thank you.
as stated.
As
Is there-
stated.
Thank you. Is there a second on that?
Thank you.
Second, anybody?
I can second that.
Okay,
Thanks,
second right here.
Sorry.
Any more discussion?
Oh, just my personal feelings, Mr. Chair, is that, I want consistency. Oh, I'm sorry, I'd just like to see consistency, so probably not gonna support this, just to maintain consistency throughout my 3 years on this board. But, I understand what the application is looking for, and if we were only voting on what was happening inside the cul-de-sac, I would be more inclined to support it, but we really held firm on putting sidewalks in on the roads that exist. And I do want to see, I'm going to support consistency in our rulings. Okay?
Can I comment on that?
Wait, let me get to Rich first. I saw him first there. Go ahead, Rich.
I understand where you're coming from, Gail, but in this situation, being as far out as it is, DPW is never gonna plow it, that's a conventional sidewalk.
I know they're not.
They don't plow anything where I live, so we're in a situation now, we're gonna have a delineated walking shoulder that will be plowed. To me, that's a win-win.
Yeah,
Right.
and I agree. I think the consistency comes with the surrounding area.
Like
Meredith Center Road, there's no sidewalks. Parade Road on the other side, there's no sidewalks. Piccolo Pond Road, there's no sidewalks. And so it seems like that configuration is consistent with the rest of the area. But I agree largely with your idea of sidewalks and like them when there's the potential for accessibility to a more core area. I just don't think that this is that way.
No, okay, I mean, like I said, I'm willing to have my mind changed. I just thought I'd say that for consistency, I have consistently supported putting sidewalks in on roads that already exist. It's just the way I have.
All right, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and I could add one other thing to that conversation is Pickerel Pond Road is already a relatively narrow road. I think the city's gonna have to address the width of that road at some point. And why put in granite curb sidewalks now if you delineate some walking path in the short term, just to have it have to be torn up at some point to widen the road? So I'm not saying that will happen, but if we did, if they had to widen the road, pave, all that sort of stuff, this may just be a nice little segue to do it all at once. That's just a comment.
What a good comment. Okay, anybody else? Okay, all in favor, raise your hands, please. Okay, that is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in favor, and abstain, and
Yes.
not in favor? One not in favor, thank you. All right, thank you. Before we move along, I just want to, you know, I don't know if anybody was at the last city council meeting or watched it, but other than Councilor Conant, the mayor, city manager, it was really hard to hear people. So I was griping about that. And somebody said to me, well, what do you think goes on at the planning board meetings? It's very hard for us to hear there. I actually heard that from 2 people. So let's really lean into these things and show them we could do it here. We'll set an example here. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now,
Now you have to vote to accept it.
thank you. I look for a motion to accept it.
Motion to accept application, I can't see the number here, it's got a glare, but as complete.
PB 2026-032 for
Okay,
Pickerel Pond Road.
thanks, yeah,
You're welcome.
I've got it.
The third waiver you'll handle before you take action the next time, because it's part of the CUP in itself.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry.
No, that's
I
okay.
was like,
So you've got
yeah. A motion to accept the application as complete is what I'm motioning.
is there a second for that? Seconded by Gary. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. The floor is yours now. Thank you.
Thank you. So, as I touched on briefly earlier, this is a 150-acre undeveloped parcel. It's on the south side of Pickerel Pond Road. It is in the RR1 zone. Currently, the lot is undeveloped. It was logged in 2016, 2017. So now there's a lot of new growth popping up. There's some old remains of some logging trails and landings in there. What we're proposing is to develop the property under the cluster development regulations, which is an innovative land use in the zoning ordinance. We're proposing 26 lots. They're going to be serviced by individual septics and wells. And what we're really trying to do is preserve that rear 120 acres. When you look at the parcel, there's kind of a dog leg in the front. You can see our roads here. So we're really limiting that development to the front 26, 27 acres of that parcel and leaving that rear undeveloped. We're proposing 2 public roads, both ending in cul-de-sacs. The longer road is over the 1,000-foot linear foot requirement, max road length. We were before zoning board in September of 2025. We did get that variance to exceed the road length to 1,300 feet, which is where it currently is. As we discussed with the curbing, the road is it's curbed with a closed drainage system, so there's catch basins in the street. All the driveways have positive pitch. They're sized for 2 cars to park off the street. In the size they are now, they could hold 4. There's some different house designs that have a single and 2-car garage, so that could vary the width of the driveway. But regardless, they are all positive pitch to the street, so that means anything from the garage doors drains back into the street. So really, all the pavement area is captured in that. The catch basin system, it goes to the treatment, the filtration pond, the detention pond we have in that northeast corner. Fire protection, there are 2 cisterns that are proposed, one on the frontage of Pickerel Pond Road and one about halfway down that longer cul-de-sac road. And we are proposing a trail connection at the end of the cul-de-sac, the longer cul-de-sac. There's a trail connection there for access to the back open space land for all the residents of the 26 residents. We discussed the 2 waivers, so along with that tonight, we're also going to have to look at 2 conditional use permits. One for the cluster development, since it's an innovative land use, there's a conditional use permit associated with that. And there's also the WC overlay district. There's an impact for the outlet of that detention pond in the front. So there's about 7,000 square feet of disturbance there. In the wetland buffer, there's no wetland impacts associated with this project. It's just the buffer. Really, that's necessary because it's at the lowest point of the site. If you're familiar with that section of the road at all, the high point is there's a small gate there. That was the access into the property. And if you were to head back towards Parade Road, there's a low spot down there. The majority of our drainage from this front portion of the site goes to the 24-inch culvert down there. And that's kind of what we're targeting after we treat where we're going to discharge our runoff from that pond. So we were at Conservation Commission on March 20th. You guys have the comments from them. We're okay with all the comments. We're going to incorporate everything into either the HOA docs or the plans. I don't think there's anything there that was out of the ordinary or unreasonable that we can't address. And as far as other permits, we do have an NHDES alteration of terrain permit. The property does impact over 100,000 square feet cumulatively, so we will have an alteration of terrain. They're kind of the state drainage specialists, so to speak, so they'll be reviewing the application. And since it is on septics, there is a subdivision, NHDES subsurface subdivision application for the 26 lots. So the state will review the location of the wells and the septics and make sure that that meets all the state requirements for they have an open space subdivision regulations that it'll need to meet as well. And there will be septic design permits also through subsurface. We're gonna handle those on a lot-by-lot basis because they're very customized to what the footprint of the house, and they're very specific to that. So those will be done on a building permit basis for each lot. And that's everything I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions from the board or.
Sure, go ahead, Rich.
I have a question for you. Correct me, because I've been out of loop for quite a while with subsurface stuff. Didn't the state require you to have a subsurface approval for all those septics prior to getting that subsurface approval?
No, the subdivision comes first, and then the individual septics come after.
So what happens if you have a lot that you can't park?
We've done test pits out there as part of the AOT permit, we did.
26 lots?
Yep. Yep, so we
There's some
spent
fairly
3 or 4
small
days
lots,
out
and
there.
You're gonna be in a tough spot with some of the setbacks between a well and a septic.
Yep. Yep, no, well, those will all be approved prior to any building permits being issued for those lots.
Gail?
Kind of a follow-up to Rich's
Yeah,
question.
go ahead.
When were those test pits done?
They were done in November 2025.
Okay, 'cause we've been in a drought. So I want to just put that on the record, that this has been an extraordinarily dry season, and we seem to have gotten out of it, apparently according to meteorological records, in the last 2 or 3 weeks. But up until that point, to my end, when you did those test pits was probably as dry as the Lakes region has been in 50 years. I just want to put that out there, if maybe we should do a couple of more sample pits now that we seem to have brought our water table back up.
Yeah, and when we look at the test pits too, it's historic modeling, so we go off seasonal high water table, which is, you can see the line in the soil, the roots, there's multiple things they looked for, and our wetland and soil scientist, Nancy Rendell, was there. She witnessed all those pits. She's a licensed soil scientist in the state of New Hampshire, so
And these are available for review if we ever wanted to look at that. Not that I would even know what they say, but I just know wet from dry. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Gail. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. We'll open up the public comment now. Public input. So at 7:03, we'll open up the public input for any abutters or other citizens who would like to comment on this application. Come on up if you're here.
Little different sitting on this side, I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
I'm sure it is. Just give us your name
My
again.
name is Dave Willett, and I am an abutter. My property abuts the subdivision to the west of what we're talking about. Having sat in the chair here, I'll try to make this as brief as possible, but I do have some notes here, and I'll proceed with a little bit of history. I've lived on Pickerel Pond Road for 33 years. I've owned the property for 40 years. My property abuts right to this property. I'm very familiar with the property that we're talking about. I want to make it clear that I've met with Peter, the owner, and his engineer, Nicholas, and brought a few things to their attention, and they've worked with me on making some changes. So this is not about stopping the development. I just want to make some things available to the board to consider. The city took the road back in October of 2023. Prior to that, it was a emergency lane. So for quite a number of years, there was little to no maintenance done on this road. And the road is approximately a mile long. On August of 2024, as a result of a city council hearing, they approved a 10-ton road limit weight year-round. So anything larger than 10 ton to go down this road, you need a special exception. They also reduced the speed limit to 25 miles per hour because of sight distances and the condition of the road. I just think this is important when making a decision of a development of this size. In the late spring or early summer of 2024, the city did approximately $2,000 of repairs on a portion of the road. They reclaimed the asphalt, they dug ditches, and they in turn turned about 3/4 of the 1 mile road back into a dirt road. So right now, if you were to enter onto Pickerel Pond Road, it goes pavement, dirt, pavement, dirt. And it's not ideal, but that's what we have. And I was told by the Public Works Director that it was $1.7 million. This was roughly 3 years ago to repair that road properly. He explained that the road needed to be boxed out, there was culverts that needed to be replaced, it was a very expensive venture, and the city did not have the money to do that road. So they spent several $100,000 and put down some tar and some reclaimed material. My question, and I'm not looking for an answer, I'm just, if you're gonna be driving, you're gonna do this type of a development, and you're gonna be driving well rigs that weigh 40 tons, 4 times the legal limit of the road right now, concrete trucks that weigh as much as 36 tons, and dump trucks that could weigh anywhere from 28 tons to 40 tons, this road is gonna show some wear. And I have to believe the council, at the direction of the Public Works Director, put this 10-ton limit on the road to preserve the road. So I would like to think that you would take that into consideration on what might be put in place when you approve this, if you approve this development.
I have a question, Dave. What's the distance from Parade Road to this development?
It is, give me a minute. I
mean,
thought
it's like
somebody
a-
might ask that, so I went out and measured it today.
Of course you did, great. Is it like a half mile, you think, or a
It's-
quarter
it's-
mile? or-
It's probably from the Parade Road end in, I would guess it to be about a half a mile to 2/3 of them. Yeah, about a half a mile would be safe, maybe a little less.
So would it be shorter to get to from Parade Road or from Meredith Center Road?
I think it would be shorter from Parade Road, but there might be some problems with that because of the condition of the road. When I had talked to Peter, that was a question that I asked Mr. Grenier, and he said that they intended to come in, and correct me if I misspeak, that they intended to come in from the Meredith Center end. Well, so be it, but that has at least 750 feet of pavement that the city put down less than 2 years ago. There's several culverts that one has to go over to get to the job site. I just want somebody to be taking this into account so that if there's significant damage done to this road, that we, the people, there's 22 houses on the road. 20 of them are year-round residents. So you're adding 26 more houses to this road. There's gonna be an influx of traffic. I just wanna see that the road, it doesn't get worse. They grade it in the spring and they grade it in the fall and they plow the road. Kudos to Public Works. They're doing the best they can with what they have to work with. But to boil it all off, Pickerel Pond Road's been forgot about for a long time. And some of us like that, but
Well, it sounds like you need to make this very clear to the city council, and we do have a counselor right here on the board who I'm sure is paying close attention to your commentary, so that'll be good. Are you done, Dave, or do you want to take a question?
I just want to ask, not to Dave, but to his point, is there any form of road construction bond put up by the company that we are looking at to remediate any damage, that, all those things that Dave has mentioned?
That would be a
is-
question for staff, and
It's a staff question, but since he brought it up and there's a lot of people here tonight, I want to take it as it comes so that we don't forget. So can we ask for a bond, some sort of a performance bond for the road itself to mitigate any damages in case that doesn't get done or this project goes belly up, or, do you know what I mean? Any one of a number of things can happen?
if I can comment on that before that's answered. When I had discussions with Mr. Grenier, he had stated, and once again, please correct me if I'm wrong, that he would put up $300,000 to upgrade the road. Initially, at conceptual, I believe, and I don't want to misspeak, but I believe it was much more money than $300,000 that was talked about as far as putting up to bring the road up to better standards.
Well, I think this is over our heads, quite frankly. It's a good point to bring it up. But I think this is something that the staff and the Department of Public Works is gonna have to pay attention to.
Well, that's why I asked if
Right.
it's possible and legal that we put in a performance bond on that road should this project pass.
All right, so essentially, we'll have a pre-construction meeting where all the department heads get together. DPW will be there, and DPW routinely, before any project during a pre-construction meeting, outlines the conditions that the developers are gonna have to meet in order to protect city roads. That even includes Pickerel Pond Road. So if
Okay.
they do any damage to the road, whether it's a bond or it's escrow, however DPW wants to handle holding that money to protect the road, they will address that at the pre-construction meeting. As far as setting money aside to upgrade the road, if the developer indeed wants to contribute to that, they would enter a cost-sharing agreement with DPW. Whatever that number is, whether it's a percentage or an actual dollar amount, that's gonna be between them and DPW of how much they're gonna be contributing to upgrade the road.
What I'm hearing is that it is possible that DPW and the city requires some sort of a performance bond to correct any damages done to that road during the construction phase.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Right, and I'm pretty sure they've done that in the past with Where's Boulevard, with some of the players up there, and also at White Oaks Road. This same discussion came up when that was all being, you know who I'm talking about. And so this isn't new to the city, and
No, I'm not saying it is, but
Yeah.
can we condition it?
It is conditioned in the staff report. There's a pre-construction requirement that is in your staff report that we recommend as conditions of approval. During that meeting, as part of that meeting, DPW requires them to sign that pre-construction agreement. And in that, there's that bond or site security that they choose to use.
security? Okay,
For whatever
yeah, I
number
just-
DPW deems is appropriate for them to safeguard the city and the road.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
That's
Did-
educational.
Exemption to exceed that
That-
weight
that's
limit,
also-
because that's not a very big weight limit.
That's also DPW.
Okay.
Okay, David, anything else?
That's, yes.
Okay, go, please continue.
Traffic study. In the documents, it's on page 4, that they had a traffic study that was done by TEPP. And in the documents listed out in the traffic study, it states that Pickerel Pond Road is a 35-mile-an-hour zone. It's not the case. Pickerel Pond Road is a 25-mile-an-hour zone. I think it's important that you know that based on accuracy of what you're looking at here. The traffic study does not address the safety issues at either end of Pickerel Pond Road. The Pickerel Pond Road is slightly, just over a mile long from the Parade Road, or the, sometimes referred to now as the Route 106 end. If you're headed north and you're taking a left-hand turn onto Pickerel Pond Road, the speed limit there is 50 miles an hour. And there is no turning lane, and there's not much of a shoulder. And I've had some cringing moments looking in my rearview mirror, and I can only imagine if you had 26 more houses, even though the state says there's only gonna be 26 cars, I have a hard time understanding that. That's a safety issue. You go to the opposite end of the road, Merida Center Road, the speed limit, and they're both state roads, is posted 40 miles an hour on a blind corner. And I'm telling you, I entertain anybody to go out there and pull out, it's a blind
The problem
corner.
with that, Dave, is that you're right, it's a state road, and believe me, we've had these discussions with the state about Roller Coaster Road, which is equally a very dangerous exit onto Parade Road or 106. And,
I just want you to be aware of
Yeah,
taking it into consideration. If you
yeah.
haven't traveled that, you get either end of the road, could be problematic. And the accuracy of their traffic study. I mean, if the speed limit's 25 and their report says it's 35, I think that should hold some weight. Hydrological study. I didn't see anything in here about a hydrological study. We're hearing that they're gonna take approximately 26 wells, or no approximate, there's 26 wells being put into a 10.8 acre area. What effect does that have on the effect on the aquifers, the wetlands, and the surrounding wells? That's a pretty big concern. 10-acre parcel, or 10.8 acre parcel with 26 wells, a lot of holes in the ground. I want you to consider it. These are questions that probably more for the developer. How much tree removal will there be? Because as you heard from the engineer, they logged that out. They hit it pretty hard when they logged it, but there are some mature trees left on the property. I think some of those mature trees are within that 10 or 11 acre piece, and I was curious to how much would be left. The open space that's referred to, is that gonna be put into a conservation easement? That's there, if so, would that be part of the deed when it's entered in, when it's deeded? Is it a conservation easement where it can't be developed, or 10 years from now, 8 years from now, they come back and say, we got this 120 acres that now we can access from a different point, can we develop that? During construction, it's a dirt road. I'm telling you, it's a dusty dirt road. So I would hope, and I understand you're gonna say, we need to talk to Public Works about that, but I wanna make everybody aware, I wanna get it out now, that it needs to be addressed under construction. HOA rules, one of the concerns that I have is the protection of the wetlands. There is an area of drainage that drains off Meredith Center Road and Parade Road, and that drainage is huge. Part of it's on my property, part of it's on the property that's being developed, and it is a huge watershed that drains into Pickerel Pond by the way of 3 brooks. If I could, I would like to show you, I'll make a stack of pictures right there, you can pass them around. This is the size of the watershed that we're talking about. Is that acceptable?
You just want to pass the pictures around
that's
while
it.
you're talking? Sure.
These are the type of pictures that we're talking about. I think we saw these when at the zoning board meeting, we didn't see photos.
I wouldn't dare say no after all that.
This in crayon. No.
Holy cow.
The pictures that you'll see are part of the bog, swamp, whatever term you want to put on it. The second cul-de-sac, this cul-de-sac right here, comes relatively close to it. My concern is, we were all kids once. Gail brought up that this last summer, we had a dry spell. We had a dry spell, and where you see water was mud. Attractive mud to a kid with a dirt bike. So my question is, if you put 26 homes in there, how is this wetlands going to be protected so that it's not destroyed? There's beaver dams in there, I'm not trying to stand in the way of this development, I just want to see that it's done properly, and that we're not looking back and say, you know what, we should have put more regulations on what they did as far as keeping motorized vehicle out of the wetlands. I think I've covered pretty much everything. I'm sure I'll sit down and realize that I missed something. I do have some verbiage that I drafted that I would like the board to consider. If you go forward with this, that this may possibly be put into the homeowners association rules, and it would be something that would protect restrictions on operation of powered vehicles such as ATVs, UTVs, and like from operating within the designated wetland areas and the surrounding buffer zones, and restrict this area to foot traffic only. I think that's reasonable on a development of this size in a fragile environmental area.
That's in the wetland buffer?
In the wetland. In the wetland.
And this can be reworded. I'm sure the attorneys are gonna wanna look at it. I'm sure, you know, I just want you to take this into consideration before we have something that we wish we had done something different.
And like you just said, for Rich, this is the wetland buffer that you're talking about, or is it already
Whole
conservation?
lot, Dave, or the Battle lot, or?
This is where in my mind, no, there's some beautiful wooded area out there. This swamp is beautiful. It's great to go out there and watch the herrings and the osprey, and there's duck hunters that go out there. I'm not trying to stop that. I'm just trying to make the board aware that an ATV, a dirt bike, a UTV, and I own all of them except for a dirt bike, and I'm too old for a dirt bike. Those could do a tremendous amount of damage in a very short time in that type of fragile wetlands. I thank you for your time.
All that stuff is on this property?
Yes,
all
it
those
is.
pictures?
Yes, it is. Those pictures are taken from my property. And I went on your property when I took those photos a year and a half ago. There is a trail that was referred to that would connect to the back of this cul-de-sac right here. Where's your property? Right here, right here.
All right, thanks.
That trail is a walking trail, but I think some of the people on the board remember when that was a snowmobile trail. It was accessible by the state fields up on Parade Road across from pedal pushers. The state had to put in a metal gate to keep the four-wheelers out because in the springtime, four-wheelers, it was an attractive road for four-wheelers to drive down in. They put the metal gate up and it's, for the most part, has worked. I'm just fearful if you have a cul-de-sac that goes right to a trail, as long as it was made a walking trail, I think it would suffice. I just want the board to be aware of it, and I thank you for your time. Is there
Thank you very much.
any questions that I can answer?
Beautiful photos. You kind of missed your
Thank you.
calling there, buddy.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to comment? Well, come on up. Just give us your name, please, and your residence, what city, something.
Brian Patterson at 203 Pickerel Pond Road.
Thank you.
And I have a letter here I'd like to read. So today we have before us a proposal that's not right for our neighborhood and does not meet the standards of the city of Laconia, and I urge you not to approve it. The proposal is a cluster development of 26 houses on Pickerel Pond Road. The city ordinance says, I quote, "Buildable land area residential, each lot developed for single-family or two-family residential development shall have a minimum of 20,000 square feet of buildable land area where on-site septic or water supply are permitted and will be utilized," such as this. The proposed lots don't meet this requirement, coming in closer to, I don't know where he got the 10,000. On page 7, when I divided out, they said they had 3.7 acres in their proposal, which would come out to 6,203 square feet, and that doesn't even, as far as I know, include that 28-foot road. I suspect they will tell you a few things to obscure this. They talked to the fire department and had a community cistern approved to meet fire concerns, and they went to the state for approval of their plan. The cistern is not the same as providing residential water supply for those houses, and the regulation is about sanitation rather than fire suppression, as is obvious from the statement about on-site septic. Municipalities have the right to make more stringent rules regarding sanitation than the state follows, and Laconia has wisely chosen to do so. I ask that you hold these developers to that standard at least. With the allotted site size, this would limit the development to, and if you don't include that road, it's enough for 8 houses rather than 26. The state strongly encourages wells to be 75 feet from septic for good sanitation, and the current site plan makes this impossible. Furthermore, the bedrock is likely to be highly impermeable given the number of surrounding wetlands. We're abutters, and after drilling down 500 feet, had a poor draw of water until we hydrofractured our well. According to my sources, about hydrofracturing, if a neighbor's well is within the same fracture trend or 50 feet to 100 feet away, there's some risk of impacting an adjacent well. As the distance increases, the risk diminishes. Many of the proposed wells would be at risk if hydrofracturing is needed to obtain good flows, and this could interlink the wells so that contamination of one well by having a septic field closer than the recommended 75 feet might open many nearby wells to being contaminated, potentially producing a public health threat. If that were to happen, then lawyers would be asking why Laconia didn't follow their ordinances. Would the city be liable? Furthermore, in this time of climate change, drier summers are predicted, and last year brought the worst drought on record to our area. Wells that close together are that close together are likely to put additional pressures on the water that's available in the area, and to my knowledge, no hydrology study was conducted that would assess the risk or the impact on surrounding neighbors' wells. On a different note, I don't believe a cluster development of 26 houses is a good match for our neighborhood. The natural resources inventory done on our land and the land in question described the area as one of Laconia's gems. To further that analogy, one can carefully remove small sections of a gem to reveal a facet, maintaining or enhancing the beauty of it. But what's being proposed would be putting a large crack in the gem. The dense population would be sure to impact the surrounding conserved land considerably. One of the most treasured things for me about our area is the quiet. We can listen to the sound of birds throughout the day, and though there might be an occasional party or yard work being done, the vast majority of the time we have relative peace and a quiet provided by rises in the land between us and both 106 and Meredith Center Road. Another exception was when logging was being done on the land in question, and I suspect that I speak for all the neighbors when I say we were glad when that disturbance ended. I don't look forward to a new prolonged disturbance of construction noise, or that a dense grouping of new neighbors, When a car parked at the city land ways down the road past the proposed construction was playing loud music, it stood out starkly from our usual quiet. We appreciate the nature around us and worry that more than doubling the residences on the road would interfere significantly with that. As for the benefit to the city, the cost analysis done for the state school property suggested that the income from the residences did little more than offset the cost of services, and that businesses were what really benefited the city financially. They also included a caveat. The recent decline in students meant that schools could absorb the expected increase in students that the development would bring, but exceeding existing infrastructure could be very expensive. Numerous developments are in progress in the city. Needs to be judicious about choosing them, lest we expand faster than the city can afford. Just with regard to Pickerel Pond Road, the cost of bringing it up to city standards is expected to be more than the annual road budget, and efforts have been made to stretch it over many years. A large construction project on the road would likely push that need to a shorter timeline, and the amount of money proposed by the developers to go toward it, that is but a small portion of the funds required. It's my opinion that a small number of residences would better fit the neighborhood, preserving the nature of our current rare rural space, this gem of Laconia. I urge you to stand by the city's 20,000 square foot lot minimum for this type of construction at least, and preferably reject the cluster development in this neighborhood to preserve its bucolic aspects. Sincerely, Brian Patterson.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Brian? No? Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Suggest, I saw that our Conservation Commission chair wrote a lovely memo.
Well,
I wanted to
it
hear
looks
what
like
he
he's
had to
coming
say.
up, maybe. Dean, you coming up?
Yes, I am.
Please do.
Hey, Dee, thanks. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm Dean Anson. I'm the chair of the Conservation
Dean,
Commission
can you
here.
pull the mic towards you a little bit?
Sure.
Thank you.
It was for those taller people. I'm not that tall. So the piece of information that became available to us, the Conservation Commission, at our May 20th meeting, which was our last meeting, was a report from our consultant who is helping us with the natural resource inventory update. And they said that the Pickerel Pond area is one of the most critical pieces of property in the city. It was the number one piece of property out of 12 that they identified. So I think that, you know, and I've talked to, in particular, the Master Plan Steering Committee, and, you know, I think that one of my concerns is that I'm chasing the train that left the station. And so having this natural resource inventory update is critical to making a decision on pieces of property like this. I agree with several of the previous statements regarding pumping water. I have said that I thought that a hydrogeological study should be done. I know that, let's see, Garrett and Emery, or Emery and Garrett, out of Meredith, did some investigation of our aquifers, and they might be a good source of information. So when we try to figure out what's the impact of 26 additional wells on the existing 22 or 23 wells, we would have a better indication of whether the aquifer can tolerate those additional wells. I'm concerned that if we put in 26 new wells, what's the impact going to be on those 23? And, you know, that's already been voiced. I think that one of the disadvantages that the Conservation Commission had on our May 20th meeting was the applicant came and made a presentation and gave us, you know, half an inch thick information for us to digest in half an hour, 45 minutes. That's not adequate. I don't think that if an applicant came to you and gave you that kind of a package and said, please review this and give us your comments, and they asked, have it done.
So are you saying that if you would like more time?
Absolutely. And in fact, I talked to Rob and told him that we would try to put our comments together by tomorrow night, and yet we told the applicant the same thing.
Well, tomorrow night won't help us here tonight.
I understand that, but,
So,
you know.
I have one other question. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but with these extra wells, would that have any impact on the wetlands at all?
Absolutely.
In what way?
You're taking water from the surface, and
Okay.
you have a well that's, I don't even know how, you know, maybe some of the residents here know how deep their well is. And
So potentially it could dry those out?
It could, especially if we go through another drought.
And is that something that study you talked about could maybe answer?
You know, I think, I'm not a hydrogeologist. I know enough to get me in trouble, and I think that if you were to ask, his last name is Tinkham, Tinkam. He's a local resident. Ask him to come in and give you comments. I think he would be, you know, he would be far more qualified than
Well,
I am.
it sounds like that's somebody that you should talk to too, or your group should,
Absolutely,
so.
and we're doing that as part of the NRI.
Okay.
So the other thing it appears to me, we got two sets of documents. We got two sets of drawings. One was from the engineer, and the other was from Blue Moon Environmental, who did the wetland delineations. And although it says in the documents that no wetlands were impacted, the filtration pond that is in the northeast corner of the property appears to be in a wetland, and at least in a wetland buffer. So I think the drawings are not adequate to make the assessment that we're being asked to make. The other thing I would like to see is see if the applicant makes any changes to their proposed plan, that they come back to the Conservation Commission and show us what their proposed changes are.
Okay.
So,
Gail, you have a question?
I have a question for Chairman Ansel. And this actually just, I had forgotten about this. I was talking to a former fellow journalist in the area, and he mentioned that there was some history that has been, I believe, remediated on some pollution in Pickerel Pond Road. I don't remember the specifics, but I thought maybe you would. I'm glad to see you here. Was that anywhere near this property? And do you recall this?
I do.
Okay.
And the reason I know that is because the Conservation Commission, on behalf of the city, purchased a conservation easement on Pickerel Pond Road. And part of it, part of the investigation we had to do before we made the purchase was to make sure that the contamination that was there was cleaned up.
Okay, can you show us on this map, Dean, is where it is, if you know, relative to this proposed lot? Are we way far away from it, or?
It is up near, it's near the Meredith Center Road. So where Meredith Center Road, you come off Meredith Center Road, you go down Pickerel Pond, you start going down the hill. It's on the left-hand side. It's right adjacent to the conservation easement that we have.
All right, thanks. Like I said, that's kind of ancient history, but it may have some bearing on where we go from here.
Thank you, Gail. Anybody else? Okay, Dean, thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
comments. Is there anybody else in the audience? There is. Just your name, please, and residence.
Evening, my name's Rainey Macy. I live at 285 Pickerel Pond, one of the abutters. I'm right across the street from this project. Actually, one of the two roads going in is almost, it just jogs off the top of my driveway. Basically agree with most of the issues raised so far. You were talking about the well, or the contamination there.
Yeah,
There's
well,
actually a well in my driveway that the state put in before I bought the property 3 years ago, that was a test pit for the state to testing contamination. They've never come and tested it since I've owned it, but, so it does cover that area over there. I guess I don't understand really the direction of how they're dealing with the water. Because if you're putting in a half a mile of road, some cul-de-sacs, 26 driveways, varying widths and depths, based on the properties that are being built, it seems like a lot of water that is going down on pavement and driveways and all. There's, off to one side of my driveway, and almost up against Pickerel Pond, my abutter on one side, and it goes down my property, crosses my driveway, or my driveway crosses the brook, I guess, and then goes down to Pickerel Pond Road. It's typically been just an intermittent brook. Most years it will just dry up completely. There have been years where, it was probably 15, 16 years ago maybe, the same year that Weir's Beach washed out the railroad tracks and the walkway and all. That brook, which was dry most of the summer often, rose up so much that it completely washed out my driveway, and I was stuck down there for 3 days with my mother and my mother-in-law and my wife.
Oh, you're still here to tell the story.
But I know they were talking about cisterns, and I guess conceptually I don't understand where this water flow is going to. And they said that one of the cisterns, it might have been for the rows I thought they were talking about, is once the cistern's full, then it dumps in the wetlands, and that end of the property is the brook. So I'm a little concerned about that. And apparently, Pickerel Pond's been rising over the past couple of years. And it seems, from what I'm told, that the Army Corps of Engineers used to go down the other end of Pickerel Pond, the outflowing end. I forgot the name of that road. Dave probably knows. Windsong or something? Yeah, Windsong Place. So there's beavers in Pickerel Pond, as well as the pond that's up on the property they're developing. So of course they like to dam up the water that's going out the other side, and apparently Army Corps of Engineers is no longer alleviating the dam issue on the other end. So the water right now is probably 1.5 feet higher than it tends to be in the last couple of years. It's been rising over the past couple of years, but now it seems to be consistently at least 1 foot deeper. So I don't want to increase water flow going through my property in that brook and then.
So you're
into the
concerned that this will cause an increase flow?
Yeah, I don't know if it would or would not. That's just raising a concern. But that was my only point.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? You could just give us your name and
Jen Kreitzer,
address, or where do you live? Live Laconia?
Pickerel
or-
Pond Road. I've
Okay,
lived there
beautiful.
for 23 years.
Wonderful, thank you.
So thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm basically going to echo really everything that's already been said, so I'll try to keep this brief. And I did want to start by noting, I think Dave had mentioned as well, Mr. Grenier and Mr. Loring have been really open to our feedback, which is genuinely appreciated. I just wanted to express a few concerns, mostly environmental, several of which, Dean already mentioned as well. I think that, we're more than doubling the number of houses on the road with this proposal. I think we're presenting a lot of risks that our current infrastructure really isn't designed to handle. A few of those concerns are the road infrastructure itself, which has obviously been discussed, the hydrologic impact on our wells as well as the environment of the area. The runoff, there's, adding 26 homes to the road, you're adding runoff of salt, fertilizers, pesticides. It's a fragile ecosystem, as has been mentioned several times. Long-term septic maintenance, maintenance responsibilities and HOA enforcement, particularly surrounding the protections of the designated open space land, as well as, the maintenance of everything that goes into the HOAs or the developments. Beyond the environmental impacts that have been discussed, I do feel that this is drastically changing the character of our area, of our road. We've discussed sidewalks and streetlights. Those are all things that don't currently exist. Because we live on a dirt road, there's, 22 homes. This isn't really that kind of area. I use the term neighborhood loosely because it's really a road with houses on it. I think that, obviously, as Dean mentioned, that the Pickerel Pond area in general is a very critical area that we should be looking at that. I understand there's RSAs and there's rules that I'm not saying that aren't being met, but I do think that, I support responsible development. I think that we need to ensure that we're not sacrificing vital natural resources for development that doesn't serve the people who actually live here. I think that I would just strongly urge the board to consider our water quality, our infrastructure, and our community's future. So, thank you for your
All right,
time.
let me ask you a question, and it's probably not fair because I should have asked everybody this, and maybe it's not even a good question to ask, but if this development was 6 houses or, half of what's being proposed, would you have the same concerns or not as much? Just curious.
I don't think I would have nearly the amount of concerns I have now. I mean, I think that I would certainly have some concerns with the, the wetlands and the fragility of the area. But 6 wells and 6 septic systems being added, 6 homes with, however many people that entails, it wouldn't give me as much pause as 26 homes gives me. 2 new
Okay.
roads, 26 wells, 26 septic systems.
Well, I understand, and like I said, I wish I had thought to ask everybody that, but my I'll take a stab that maybe everybody would have the same opinion, I don't know. But, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody, and we do appreciate you coming in, is there anybody else we have somebody else? Well, here's a familiar face. I wish he was wearing a necktie, so I could say nice tie. Councilor
Smart enough
Cheney.
not to. My name's Bruce Cheney.
Yep.
I live at 61 Pickerel Pond Road in the city of Laconia. I support everything these ladies and gentlemen have brought up. I am concerned about the size of this development in answer to your question before you have to ask it. But I want to show you something. I think you all have this document from the Conservation Commission. There's 2 pages. And I've highlighted for my purposes the things that I'm concerned about that need to be included in whatever you finally approve. I've sat on this board, I sat on the city council, and I can't tell you how many times I said, make sure it's in writing. I think these gentlemen have heard me say it once or 50,000 times. So I'm asking that the concerns that have been raised, if you decide to go forward with this, please, I'm begging you, make the staff put all of these on a piece of paper and any others that may arise, and include them in writing. The fact that, and I don't mean to impugn these gentlemen at all, but I have seen some who came in and swore up and down they were going to go left or right, and in the end they went straight ahead, and it cost us dearly. So I'm asking you to pay attention to that. I would rather see 6 homes than 26 homes. But if this board, in its infinite wisdom, decides this project should go ahead as it is, I beg you to make sure all of these conditions and any others that may be raised are put in writing. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you very much. Anybody else in the audience?
Hi, my name is Bill Madden. I live at 104 Pickle Pond Road. And not to make this a broken record, I just want to reiterate what people have said. This is an amazing wetland, and it's surrounded by conservation lands. So whatever decisions, it's going to impact the conservation land, Pickle Pond Road, and ultimately Lake Winnisquam as the water flows. So it's more environmentally impactful than other developments. And my question is the number of homes is maxed out, and the impact that it would have. And the second point is Pickle Pond Road itself. It was determined, they didn't know, the city didn't know if it was a public road or a private road. And our deed never mentioned that it was public, that it was a private road. So I don't know what the resolution was, but so currently, as David said, it's, 3/4 of it is dirt. And I live on the end, the Parade Road end with the hill, which is paved, but it's also deteriorating rapidly. And my sympathy is with my neighbors who have put up with the dirt road and mud and, dust in their homes, and it's a sad situation for that road. And the other 2 things was Dave had mentioned was the ends. Going on to Meredith Center Road, my son taught me the trick was to put the window down so I could hear the car coming, because you're not going to see it. Hopefully you'll hear it. And at the other end, it's 50, 60 mile an hour traffic, and it's tough to get in and out.
I hope you're not making an argument for loud pipes on motorcycles right now.
Yes, I am. Segue into that. So finally, as a fellow citizen, I ask you to please go and walk the land, now that we've had rain, you can see that you can see its true nature, and also drive on Pickerel Pond Road and imagine yourself as a resident of that road in all your decisions. So, thank you.
Any questions for another resident of Pickerel Pond Road? Well, I felt like I met the whole neighborhood tonight. That's great. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, we have somebody else in the audience, another. Okay. If you could just give us your name and address, please.
My name is Deborah Cheney, and I live on Pickerel Pond Road. Obviously, I agree with everything that's going on here. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful area. To me, it's critical that this area be conserved. There's nothing like it in the city. I'd be less than honest if I didn't tell you I've wrestled with selling or putting the land in conservation, mainly because of health issues of family members. We've elected to put it in conservation. It's 55 acres. It's probably one of the most magnificent pieces of property in the city, which is why we've elected, to turn it over to the conservation people. I also abut a 95-acre piece of property with a neighbor who is also willing to go the conservation route with her property as well. I think there's plenty of development going on in the city around the lakes. I think at some point, I know we need housing, but at some point we have to consider preserving some of what we have. And I think this area, and I'm sure Dean will agree with me, is like the last gem in the city. And I think this housing to put it's 150 acres, that sounds grandiose. However, most of it's not developable. I don't know exactly what the, numbers are, but my understanding is there's less than 20% of that 150 acres that's buildable. I jokingly say the biggest crime wave we have on Pickerel Pond Road is when the raccoons get in the trash. We have deer, we have bear, we have turkeys, we have coyotes, we have bobcats. It is just heavenly. I'll leave you with that. The other thing, the road. If you're coming down from Meredith and you try to turn in from 106, it's a hairpin turn to get into that road. And then it makes an immediate sharp left. I can't tell, we all know enough state of the right or forget it. In some parts of the road, if you meet a truck, you can barely get by. To put 26 houses, say what they want, the septics are not approved. It's wetlands. The pond has been cleaned, I don't know for how long, but for a long time, the pond was not sustainable. It wasn't even sustaining fish, my understanding. I'm not sure we have guarantees that we're not gonna have problems with that many septics in that area. And lastly, I truly wish you would consider tabling this and taking time to go look, observe the land, look at the road, what it takes to get in and out of that road. It's pretty dangerous getting in and out of that road. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? It's almost a record for me tonight. Okay. We'll close the public hearing.
Could I make a motion?
Let me just close the public hearing first, if I may. We'll close the public hearing at 7:53. Thank you. Now, you wish to make a motion?
Well, I wanted to continue the public hearing till our next meeting.
Well, you can make that motion now, I guess, but let's talk about that.
Could I make a suggestion? Could you allow the applicant to get back up and to discuss? I think there was a lot of facts or questions that were raised. At least allow them the opportunity to come in and discuss and to kind of negotiate with the board
from what they just heard?
From what they've heard, what they think the best next steps are. And then if there's questions for staff, we're more than happy to discuss. And but I think it would be an excellent idea just to listen to the abutter or the applicant again.
I don't see any objection to
I don't
that.
have a problem with that. I'm still not gonna be ready to make a decision tonight regardless.
I want more time to get more information from the Conservation Commission, the hydrologist that they referred to, and a few other things like that.
So I think that's a great opportunity to listen to the applicant and then come to an agreement of what additional information the board would like.
Yep.
And then give them the amount of time and that we've all come to an agreement on what we're all looking for, so that you can
Okay,
kind
so-
of pry out more information on both sides about what's been looked for, and then we know what we're looking for next month.
So to get back to his initial question about continuing the public input till next meeting, we don't need to do that then, at this point. Is that correct?
I think that there'll be an opportunity to do that very shortly, but I think what we should do is listen to the applicant again, and then
No,
after.
we're gonna
we've-
do that, I just wanted, so we can
And
do
then we,
that
and then after we've done all
Okay.
that, if your decision is to continue it, it would be an excellent opportunity then to continue it after we come to whatever agreement of additional information that you're looking for.
Okay. Would you gentlemen like to come back to the podium? And we have a new person up here.
Yes, nice to see you, Mr. Chairman. John Cronin for the record. I've been quietest I've ever been at one of these meetings tonight. I thought you'd be proud of me. But I appreciate all the comments that were made, and if I lived on Pickering Pond Road, I'd probably articulate a lot of the same
Can you
issues.
pull that towards you a little
Yeah,
bit?
same issues and concerns. I've been out there a number of times, again this evening, and looked at it, and it is a beautiful area. I just want to make a couple of references and a couple of comments. One, this is not a legislative body. An applicant is charged with meeting your regulations, and you review the plan and the submittals and see if it complies. I think there's a lot of merit to conservation commissions and communities buying land that's treasured in the town. Londonderry, I think, has been the champion of that, spending millions of dollars to buy lands that they deem to be protected or protectable. This property was listed for sale. It was on the market. It was available for anyone to come and buy it. They didn't. This applicant spent thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, which is now required to meet the abundance of regulations, both locally and state, to comply. And this meets your regulations. It's been vetted at a TRC meeting. It's been vetted by your staff, and it meets all the criteria. Having said that, and I think some of the speakers had noted that both Peter and Tony have been respectful and willing to make changes and amendments to address some of the reasonable concerns, as they always have. And for council that spoke eloquently, as always, the Conservation Commission report, the recommendations, we will state on the record that we would accept a condition that all of those be incorporated as conditions of approval. So there's no questions about who said what or when. We intend to adopt that. The Conservation Commission makes a recommendation or concern about 7,000 square feet of a buffer. There's no impact on the wetland. Stamped engineer has verified that, is always the case. You have over 6 million square feet on this parcel, 150 acres. 10% of that would be 600,000, right? 1%, 60,000. We're talking about 1/10 of 1% of the area at the lowest spot, which facilitates a drainage plan. For some of those that spoke concerned about spillover of drainage, the New Hampshire law has been settled for a long time. You have to prove your pre and post drainage, which has been done here. And to the extent to any property owner, whether this developer or myself or any of the people that spoke, they make artificial improvements that spill over and increase in the post-development stage, the runoff, they have liability for that. They're totally responsible for it. Another thing that, again, if I lived on Pickerel Pond Road, I probably would come here and say I'm concerned about my well. In every project, pretty much I do subdivision more than a couple of lots, and over 40 years there's been lots of them. There's questions about the well. The law in New Hampshire is well settled on that as well. There's no priority right to the groundwater. If you buy a piece of land, you have the right to access the groundwater. They could go out now and drill wells to water their lawn and do whatever's out there if they chose to on an equitable standard. Now, if they went and put Laconia Spring Water Company, different story, right? You violate the equitable standard because your draw is too great. I've seen dozens of hydrology tests. cost tens of thousands of dollars in some instances, take months to prepare. And the big fat book, and we'll talk about glacial nature of New Hampshire, the way it's structured, aquifers, veins, and the last page in the conclusion is pretty much all the same. In New Hampshire, it depends. You could have a well where I'm standing, 1,000 feet, and produces 2 gallons a minute. You could have one at that table, 100 feet, that does 30 gallons a minute. And no hydrology test is going to tell you that. What you have to comply with is the state regulation. You have to have that well tested before you get an occupancy permit to make sure that there's an appropriate draw on it. You have to produce enough to meet the state regulations to get that well approved. Similarly with the subsurface and the septic, there's regulations for that. Lots of regulations. DES is good at it. They're tough. They make sure all of that complies. And again, if I was one of the 36 or some odd owners there, I probably wouldn't want any more development out there. But when you buy a piece of property and you meet the regulations, you should have a right to have it approved. And I don't think any of the 36 people spoke. All seem reasonable, nice people. Have had difficulty navigating that road or accessing either 106 or the other road on the other side.
I'm not really concerned about, I tried to make that point earlier. Either end of that road is really not relevant at all to me, and I hope it's not to the board, because those are state roads, and if there's an issue with egress there, that's something the state has to address, and not this planning board.
One of the gentlemen spoke about some liability for the town, and the Wyndham case. You're immune from that. There was the PFAS lawsuit against the town for approving something, and Wyndham prevailed recently in that case. So you have that liability. Someone else asked about conservation. We're open to work with people in this board and conservation in terms of how they want to see it. Generally, with a conservation easement, you need someone to be the recipient of it and take it and be responsible for it, and most people don't want that. So typically in our documents, our association documents, we commit that in the way that, is preservation. It can't be used consistent with your regulations. I haven't looked at your regulations regarding ATVs and UTVs, but I think that gentleman's request was a reasonable one. And I would suspect that the new homeowners that are out there probably wouldn't want ATVs and UTVs, so we're happy to put those in the documents.
Unless they own one.
Yeah, well, there's probably other places that they could use it, right?
Possibly so.
I see a lot of them on the highway on trailers and the back of pickups.
Again, that's a very strong concern, and I don't even live there, and I can see the damage that could be done to wetlands with something like that.
Yeah.
But
So
these are all good, I'm not trying to stop you, but these are all good points that you're making. But we gotta, the overlying thought that I'm hearing from all these residents out there is the 26 homes in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And, we're seeing this all over the city. We really are. And now, and maybe I'm misspeaking here as the chair of the planning board, but it's a concern for residents, and I think now the people in that neighborhood are concerned about it, changing everything. And I get it, these guys own the property, I understand that, but.
It's late to change the rules, right? If you want to legislate
Well,
and council wants to change it.
I'm not trying to legislate, I'm just trying to get not only these developers, but any developers to just look at the big picture and just be thinking about that. Because who wants an unhappy neighborhood? Who wants unhappy neighbors? And,
I think once this gets built in the way that these folks build it, they do a beautiful job.
Yeah.
Probably make some friends, have some very nice people that contribute to the city. It's 150 acres, 26 homes. It may sound a lot if you've been out there in the quiet for a long time. It's a ratio in terms of land dimension, it's relatively small. It's not, and in these approval stages, right, that the sky is falling. After they get built, people generally manage well. People that come in and buy these homes, they care about them. They care about their neighborhood. Are there exceptions? Sure. There's exceptions in existing homes. You may live in some neighborhoods where one of your neighbors isn't the best at keeping their property up, or maybe they're a little bit difficult. But that's really not a planning board reg.
Well,
So-
no, listen, you know, you can keep saying all that, but the reality is that we're all citizens here too.
No doubt.
No matter what the state comes up with or anything like that, you know, this board represents the citizens of Laconia. So we listen, and we're trying to balance everything out. I just want to talk about the water situation again. You made the remark about you can drill the water and whatever you take out, and, you know, you have that right to do that. But there has to be a concern for potentially 26 wells or whatever, having a negative effect on other wells in the area. And I would hate to think that the attitude would be, well, you know, it's too bad. I think that's a concern, and that's why I'd like to hear more about that from whoever. I'm just speaking myself here.
Yeah, I mean,
But that's a concern, I
It's
think.
very possible. If you look at the well map here, you know, you have different productions that exist out there. I think you have a well from 166 feet that's generating 7.5 gallons per minute. You have another one at 430 at 30 gallons per minute, and one at 465 at 2 gallons a minute. Every time you drill a well, you're not going to know what vein you're going to hit and what you're going to produce. And your well contractor may say, gee, I've got 2 gallons a minute, but I'd like to get you 6 or 8. They may go a little bit deeper. And that's, you know, that's the nature of New Hampshire. I don't know how you ever find that out until you start building.
Well, who knows, maybe the developer or somebody else can get the city to bring city water out there, then you wouldn't have to worry about that.
In our lifetime, Charlie?
With the new impact fees, you should be able to bring it everywhere, right?
Mr. Chair,
Go
to
ahead.
what you said and what he said, you know, we have to, I understand your points. I just want to say that as I sit here as a member of the planning board, I do a balancing test too. And I have to balance what's in the best interest of the developer versus what's in the best interest of most of the residents of the city of Laconia.
No
And
doubt.
that's all I'm going to say at this point, because it looks like this is going to be continued. But there are competing interests here, and the environment is one of those competing interests that benefits everybody in the city of Laconia, not just the residents of Pickerel Pond Road and its surrounding community. So we do have a balancing test that we have to do, and I'm not going to be bullied into making a decision that I'm not comfortable is the best decision for the predominant of the people of Laconia and the residents that already exist on that road.
It's not my attempt to bully anyone. I just want to make it noted that, you know, the regulations are designed so that people are protected, right? That's why you draft them, that's why you adopt them, and if people follow them, that's the inference that it's in the best interest.
Rich, you had a question?
To further that, I'd like to see an engineering drawing showing me how you can locate, say, on lot 22, that's 114 feet by 100 feet, and put a well in where it's got to be separated from the septic tank by 50 feet, from the leach field by 75 feet. From the property, the well has to be 75 feet from the property line. That's a tough push in a little lot like that.
Good for me. I don't take the engineering questions. I get to defer them to the engineers.
Just
I
saying.
think the plan set probably shows how to do it, but I'll let Nick address that.
Sure. To directly address your question, sheets 8 and 9 show the well locations. The way this is developed with the open space regulations, the well radiuses, 75-foot radiuses, do go into that open space. The wells are located on the lots, but portions of those 75-foot radiuses are in the open space.
75 feet from a property line.
Yep, yeah, they're all 75 feet from a property line, from our 150-acre property line. That's the way the state looks at it, is your well radiuses have to be on your lot. Not the individual lots that are on there. And there are, sheets 8 and 9 show the septic system locations and the wells for that 75-foot separation.
Okay, Gary?
Yeah, on that map, I think, I see notations EDA. Is that
Yep.
the septic locations?
Yes, that's effluent disposal area.
I was guessing that, but
Yep.
I didn't read, I can't, it's so large, I can't read that description of that. So I was assuming, looks like most of the leach fields are intended to be in the front of the lots.
That's correct.
And the wells are near the back of the lots.
Yes.
Thanks.
And just clarify a couple things for comments. There was some comments on the traffic study and the speed limit. We looked at that as a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. The intent of that study was the safety portion, meaning the lines of sight. So we looked at, there's sheets in the plan set that look at line of sight when you're leaving the two proposed roads, and that was the intent of that. Is it was originally posted at 35. If the town does improvements to the road and it goes back to 35, we want to make sure that the roads that we have meet those sight lines. So it's based off AASHTO stopping safe sight distance, and we use the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit for those. So that's where that number came from. As far as wells go, just briefly, I'm not a hydrogeologist. I'm an engineer. I do water on the surface, right? So, but if I look at this and I like this overall plan, it really, a couple of things it shows. It shows the 26 lots, their position on it, where this 136 acres is, I know there's some comments on conservation and what we're gonna preserve on this property, and I think it's 150 acres, and 136 of that will remain in open space undeveloped. And as far as what uses there are, we did discuss that with conservation, it's really passive recreation, right? So hiking trails through there, there's gonna be information in the HOA docs that doesn't allow off-road recreational vehicles on there, nothing motorized. And as far as tree removal, the area that's being disturbed, it's 12 acres, so 5 acres is the minimum that you can disturb at one time. So that's as far as after the trees are cut, what you can stump, so that's a multi-phase project. The road will get built first with all the drainage measures, and then the lots will come after, so all the infrastructure will go in first. And future development, this is gonna be open space, it's common ownership from all 26 units, so there'll be no future development of this. It's gonna be all commonly owned by 126 share.
So you're saying there'll be no more room for future development?
It'll be commonly owned, it's open space, and once
Mr.
it's
Chair.
designated as open space, it can't be.
If I may, there is a state law that says that with a cluster subdivision that is approved by this board, the open space automatically becomes conservation land. That's 674-21-A. So basically, if you guys approve this plan, all the open space that is on this lot becomes a conservation,
So there's
shall
no
be
more
deemed to
room
create a
for-
conservation restriction.
So the answer is no.
Correct.
That's all I wanted to know.
Correct.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Gail.
I had two questions that I forgot to ask the first time, and they have absolutely nothing to do with conservation.
Gail, can you bring the
but I'd
mic
like
up
to
close
know.
to you?
Oh, I'm sorry. First of all, is there going to be a restriction in your HOA documents limiting if you go forward with this, limiting short-term rentals?
If I might, we
Yeah.
already regulate that you need to follow the city ordinance with that
Okay.
regardless.
Well, I mean, HOAs also have the
So-
ability to make their own rules. Okay.
So
They can.
They can do their own
They
thing.
can
but
do their own rules.
They
I'm
can
asking.
they can only be more restrictive than the city. They can't be less restrictive.
That's why I'm asking that. Second question has to do with lighting. You haven't, no one's talked about it. I bet that road is pretty dark at night. You're proposing 26 lots. I'm just saying, what kind of lighting are you proposing so that you don't have a lot of light pollution going out to your neighbors and stuff like that? Is it like hooded lighting? I don't know a lot about lighting, but I know there are ways to do lighting that are less intrusive than other ways to do lighting.
Yeah, we do have a lighting plan in here, so
Okay,
there's.
and I'm sorry if I haven't reviewed that.
Yeah, so we did, we had the lighting design company look at this, so we put all the streetlights along the street. It shows those lumens. There's just typical lighting for each unit. There's a light over the garage, there's a front door light, and then there's a rear light. So that's shown on sheet 10, and there's some details on sheet 11 as far as any lighting. You'd see the lumens, they really don't, with the 75-foot perimeter buffer and the distance of these property lines, the lighting, it all meets city requirements. It's the downcast lighting.
Okay, I just thought I'd
Yep.
ask and bring it up. It didn't get mentioned the first time, and people that live in dark places do concern themselves with lighting in the future, so.
And as far as, I think there might be a little confusion, is the fire cisterns that are located, that's fire protection. Those are filled with water. That's a safety regulation. The detention pond at the front, that's the stormwater treatment. So that's going to be all the impervious areas flow to that. That does a multitude of things. It looks at, we look at a few different things with drainage, right? First one is treatment. It's the 1-inch rainstorm, kind of the first flush. So any contaminants on there, that's what the filtration pond is designed to treat. The second is the quantity. So when we look at this, we look at all the culverts. There's 5 different design points that we analyzed, and it's the culverts under Pickerel Pond Road and the abutting properties. So anything where our development is going, any of the water that's leaving that site was analyzed in both pre and post development conditions to ensure that there's no increase in rate of runoff during multitude of storms from 2, 10, 25, and 50. So it's a big range. You're talking the 1-inch storm for treatment, the 2-year storms in the 3-inch range. When you start getting to a 50-year storm, it's a large amount of rainfall. You're talking 8, 9 inches.
Just remember, 50 years has become every couple years.
Yeah, well, it's not, it happens it's a 1 in 50 chance of happening, so you couldn't have them back to back.
Yeah, you could.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question of the staff?
Please.
So with the conditions as you have them specifically set with everything that's been mentioned this evening, do you feel they are conclusive enough, or are there more specifics that need to be updated, as Mr. Cheney said, to be specific to meet those? Because again, as Mr. Cronin said, all the regulations are met according to our application rules.
Yeah, so with that, I always draft the conditions based off of the technical review committee's comments, and that includes all the department heads, including the fire department, DPW, water, all that good stuff. With that said, there was discussion tonight. The applicant said that they were open to a few of those conditions, such as incorporating all the Conservation Commission's comments, and so I can certainly add that on there when I read through the conditions, that would be added. It sounds like they're also amenable to including that language for the HOA that was presented by Mr. Willett. We can certainly include that in there as a comment. And with that as well, we would also include another one for the stormwater and drainage analysis report and plans, just that they would be revised by the applicant to meet all applicable state and local requirements as required by the project manager. As you all know, our project manager is a certified engineer and really good at picking apart plans and working with the applicants on addressing those issues. With that said, there were a lot of concerns that were addressed tonight by the abutters, and I just want to reiterate that the applicant's attorney is correct. It does meet all the regulations. So in other words, by right, they could put 75 units on that lot. They are only requesting to put 26.
That's what you want to throw out there.
I'm just saying that by law, you could not restrict them any fewer than the 75 by right. They are willing to go to only 26 because of the nature of the lot. And with that said, they're also putting a majority of the lot into open space, which, as I mentioned before, automatically turns it into a conservation restriction, meaning they can't further develop it.
So
with the well situation, your subdivision regulations, so your own regulations state that it is not your jurisdiction to regulate the wells, it is the state's jurisdiction to
Okay,
regulate
those are
the wells.
just questions we have. We're not trying to regulate anything with regards to wells. These are questions that
Agreed.
the neighbors
And
brought up. And I
I'm
think-
answering-
And I understand that, Tyler, but all we're asking is questions.
Yeah.
We're not putting out rules for wells. But I do have a question to you. You said that at the beginning there, you were going to add this or add this or add that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that stuff you're going to do tonight?
I can, if the board wants to move forward with it and have me read the staff report, I will present the conditions and I will add those additional conditions that were discussed.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
I have a question. Was there ever any
Thank you.
Was there ever any consideration to creating a water district where you only had to drill one well and supply all the houses? And therefore, if you had to do the water frac, it would be less impactful. And I am not a water expert by any means.
Actually, if you wouldn't mind, I'd just like to provide some input on that. Laconia has learned that lesson the hard way once before with a community well system, which is why we no longer allow them.
Good enough answer.
So that is why we do
on
not
one.
do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I just want to say that I would like more time to mull this over, but I know once a motion is made, there is no discussion on a motion to table. So I'm just making a statement, not a motion, that this may be an awful lot to digest in one night, sort of in support. You know, I'm relative, want to hear more questions and answers, but
okay.
there's a lot here.
Doreen?
I just had another statement, kind of, I think the bottom line is that we really just need to not bring a lot of emotion into this and make sure that we're, as a board, looking at it from what we are regulated to be able to do, correct?
I don't see any emotion on the board.
Well, maybe not, but I mean, you're expressing it for, I mean, I respect all the community that's sharing their stuff and the owners, you know.
Sure.
But I want to look at regulation because I believe that's our job as a board, is to follow regulation and
Well,
ordinances and not opinions and emotions. So,
Thank
thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but I think we would be stone cold not to listen to residents and
I
and their-
appreciate
their
that. I
con-
live in
their
a
concerns.
26-person community, house community at the end of Old North Main Street, where I'm sure when they built my community in 1987, stomping feet happened, but now it's the quietest community I could imagine.
I wasn't on the board then.
Yeah, me either.
Go ahead, Rob.
If I could just add one thing. So right now, we're in the process of doing a brand-new master plan. And we've had 3 great public forums for this, and a lot of things have been brought up. There's other streets that are out there in the rural residential areas that are looking to preserve these areas. And really the best solution to, I think, a lot of these concerns are waiting until the master plan is completed and then the city actually taking a comprehensive look at its zoning ordinance and what is allowed in the zoning districts and making the applicable changes to meet all of these things and safeguard some of these areas that want to be safeguarded. But right now, as the current ordinance is, clusters are permitted out in these areas. And we need to sometimes accept what our current ordinance says and take lessons learned from it and say, this is the community we want to be, and this is the master plan, and this is the direction it wants to drive us in, and then write the zoning ordinance to match the direction the city wants to move in. So I think there's a great opportunity here for some input from the public, and I would encourage the public to attend either one of the 2 city council meetings to discuss their thoughts on this. And the first one is June 22nd, and the following one is July 13th.
I like how you snuck that infomercial in there. It was a very good job.
Not bad.
I,
Can I ask a question?
yeah, please do.
Staff?
Please do.
I'm just, could you clarify the wetland buffer waiver as it relates to these lots? Because it looks like a lot of them aren't in compliance with the wetland buffer.
Yep.
Is that the lot itself? Is that the building? I'd like to understand.
Yep, so the wetland buffer, according to the zoning ordinance, is buildable area. All the buffer means is that if somebody is building so close to a wetland, it requires additional scrutiny by this board, which is why we have a separate application for that. The applicant has addressed it. Another requirement, if they're going to be building within the wetland buffer, is that they go to Conservation Commission for review, which they have also done, and the comments have been presented. So the buffer does not mean that they can't build in it. It just means that if they are going to build in it, or if they're going to clear or grade or anything like that, there's additional scrutiny and additional regulations they have to meet.
And that scrutiny passed muster at the Technical Review Committee?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
If I could just add one additional item, if the gentleman here would just discuss it a little bit to the board. There is one additional waiver that they need for the cluster, and that is their waiver for their buffer. If you could just discuss that so the board.
We have another waiver to vote on?
No.
For this?
No,
We
no, that
don't.
would be with the app. So when you
Part of the
approve
CUP,
it,
Charlie.
they're just requesting to reduce their buffer, which from is a 75-foot buffer to a 40-foot buffer there along the Pickerel Pond.
But I'm sure the applicant would
Yes,
love the
agreed.
opportunity to share
Thank you,
that.
Rob. Yeah, so as part of the conditional use permit, there is language in the zoning ordinance that requires a 75-foot buffer around the perimeter of the property, with the planning board can grant a waiver to reduce that down to 40 feet. That's what we're asking for, is just the frontage along Pickerel Pond Road. We're looking for that waiver to be reduced to 40 feet.
And why is that? Why do you want the waiver? To give more room for something, or?
There's one unit that is within that. There's some drainage easements and some drainage measures that are in there. It's the front, everything drains to the front, so the drainage is tricky, and that's really where we need to put all of our drainage measures, and that's what we're looking for, that reduction in the buffer so we can put our drainage there.
So that moves but that allows the new home to be closer to the road? Is that, I'm a little confused. Or is
Yeah.
it just for construction for drainage?
There's two, it's the drainage, and there is one house that would fall within the 75-foot buffer.
Closer to the road?
Closer to the road, yes.
Gail?
Mr. Chair, I was just gonna ask, could you do the project with the 25 houses and not that, not that particular unit?
Again, I go back to the
No, I'm
overall-
just asking the question. I understand you got economies of scale going here, and you need so many in order to make it profitable, and I get that. I'm just asking the simple question. If you've got one house that appears to need an entire waiver for one project, is it possible to, from your project, to eliminate that one house? That's my only question.
No, as we spoke, it's 75 units is what, by the regulation that we're allowed. I think we're putting 136 acres in an open space, conservation open space. I think we have no wetland impacts. We're looking at one 7,000 square foot impact to the buffer. I think we've done a great job. We've really worked with our wetland scientist to try and come up with different options here, and I think we have the best plan that we came up with presented before you.
I just had to ask because, and what's your time frame? I mean, if you were to get an approval tonight, when would you want to have this done and dusted? What are you looking at, 1 year, 2 years?
It's market driven. Hopefully it'd be 2 years, but it could take 3. It's market driven. It's going to take some time to get the infrastructure in, but it's 2 to 3 years would hopefully be the
Okay,
the
I'm just
timeline.
curious. I just want to know, it's just a question.
Go ahead, Rich.
I got a question on the driveway. What's the steepest slope? Is that 7%?
Yeah, there's one at the very beginning that's 7% because
So that's where it pitches out on a Pickerel Pond Road?
Nope, it flattens out before that. There's a landing at the bottom.
There's enough containment that no issues with runoff on the Pickerel Pond Road?
No, both of those roads have a low spot that
Yep.
drains away. So any of our runoff will go into that road there as the basins at the low spot.
And TRC didn't have any issues with 7%?
8% is the max.
Yeah. It'll be a fun hill for the kids to skateboard on.
It's short. It turns into vertical curves really quick. It's not a lot of.
So
not a
did
lot
I
of
hear you
distance.
say that you could build 75 units here, but you're just gonna go with 26? You
It's
could build 75?
It's
Is that- You're shaking your head, yes?
Yeah,
75
for a
is gonna be
density
my right.
calculation, it's 75 because it's a.
Well, that should have been your selling point, You should have just said, hey, man, we're gonna only do 26 instead of 75. Sounds so much better. I'm just throwing it out there because you brought it up. So,
I don't think they were trying to scare any of the abutters. I think they were trying to play it very peaceful.
well, he brought it up because that's a good selling point, I guess, for 26. Okay, anything else?
If there's any other questions from the board, I'd be happy to answer them.
I'm just sighing because it's so late. Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Okay. So now, any more questions for the staff?
Do you want us to go over the staff report?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
That I mean, I would make a motion to table. Are we ready? I mean, I just think I personally need more time to digest. If I'm asked to vote tonight, I'm gonna vote no. That doesn't mean I'm against it. It just means I've gotten a lot of information tonight. And I haven't read thoroughly the memorandum from Conservation.
So are you making a motion?
I can, but if there's anything else, anybody else, I mean, I will make a motion to table.
So you just made a motion to table?
Okay. Yeah, if
I'm
it's
just trying
seconded,
to-
then there's no
I'm just
discussion.
trying to understand what's
Yeah.
going on here. Okay, so you're making a motion to
Yeah.
table. Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay, so that's been seconded. Any other discussion on that?
It's non-debatable.
I know it's not debatable, but somebody could say something. All right, all in favor of tabling this we would table this to the next meeting? Is that what you're making the motion to table?
Yeah,
the
I
next
think it
meeting?
would just, for me, it would give me time to digest an awful lot of information, the butter input, what the Conservation Commission wrote, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, The motion on the floor is to table it to the next, to the July meeting.
Yeah, however much time, you know, I could do it in a month, I don't.
Okay,
need any
all,
months, yeah.
all in favor of tabling to the next monthly meeting? Raise your hands. 1, 2, all opposed? 3, 6 opposed. Okay, so we'll keep moving along here. Now, are there any questions for the staff? Amy?
Sorry, stealing your microphone.
That's okay. I don't like it anyway.
I don't either. I just wondered if there's any way we could ask for said water hydro, whatever it is, the water testing. I know that they mentioned that it's random and it could be great here and bad there, but wondered if we could ask for that test to be done.
Well, how can we have it done before we vote tonight?
We can't, but wondered if it could be part of the condition. for
Isn't
it.
it already in one of the conditions? I mean, kind of covers it. I think it's 1.5 kind of addresses that. Let me look back at that.
1.5 would cover it because they'd have to have the permit from the state.
It will? All right, beautiful. Then I'm good.
Would you like me to go through the staff report?
Are there any other direct questions before he does that staff report? Okay, go ahead, Tyler, please.
Alrighty, for the findings of fact, since the board has approved the waivers, the application is complete and consistent with state and city land use regulations. The zoning board of adjustment approved a variance to increase the cul-de-sac length from 1,000 feet to 1,300 feet at its September 15th, 2025 meeting. The initial submission was reviewed by the technical review committee at its February 17th, 2026 meeting. The applicant agreed to revise their submission in accordance with the TRC's recommendations and returned for a second TRC review. The revised submission was reviewed by the TRC at its May 19th, 2026 meeting. Their comments have been incorporated in the recommended conditions of approval. Additionally, I want to point out that the application was reviewed by the Conservation Commission at their May 20th, 2026 meeting, and those comments have been presented to the board. For the recommended conditions of approval, first up, we have pre-construction requirements. All conditions in this section must be completed at least 2 weeks prior to commencing any work on site. Plan revisions. Plans must be revised and submitted to the planning department to include the following: total acres of the subdivided lots, total acres of the roadways, total acres of the buildable area, including curtilage and infrastructure, total acres of open space, which will include conservation land, locations of cisterns on grading and utility plans, a note for the required 10-foot setback off the perimeter buffer for any residential and accessory structures, and a note that any grading of land within the wetland buffer will require a wetland buffer conditional use permit. The applicant must submit a performance guarantee for site improvement and restoration security to the planning department in accordance with the current subdivision and site plan review regulations. HOA documents must be submitted to the planning and assessing departments for review and approval. These documents must reflect the responsibilities of the association and individual property owners for all private water, sewer, drainage, solid waste, road maintenance, and fire services as required by the TRC. These documents must be recorded at the Belknap County Registry of Deeds at the applicant's expense. 911 addresses must be issued by the fire department to ensure compliance with RSA 231 and 133 and 133-A. A 911 addressing plan must be submitted to the planning department for review and approval with the final plan set. The applicant must possess all required permits and approvals granted by federal, state, and municipal boards or agencies. All permits and approvals must be in place prior to the signing and recording of the final plans in Mylar. Should any permit or approval be revoked at any time during the project, all work must cease until a new permit or approval is obtained. Copies of all permits and approvals must be provided by the applicant to the planning department. 4 final plan sets and a Mylar plan must be submitted to, reviewed, and approved by the planning department. The Mylar plan and notice of action must be recorded at the Belknap County Registry of Deeds at the applicant's expense. Erosion controls must be in place and inspected and approved by the planning department. The planning department will perform regular inspections to ensure erosion controls are installed and maintained correctly. All conservation easements must be submitted to the planning department for review and approval prior to recording at the Belknap County Registry of Deeds at the applicant's expense. The planning department will perform regular site inspections to ensure compliance with city regulations and the conditions of this approval. A pre-construction meeting must be held between the developer and representatives from city departments. The applicant must coordinate this meeting through the planning department. All requirements in this section must be completed prior to the pre-construction meeting. For construction requirements, all conditions in this section must be met during the construction of the project. The applicant must adhere to all specifications as required by the Laconia Fire Department. The applicant must adhere to all specifications as required by the Water Department. The planning department will perform routine inspections during and after construction to ensure compliance with the planning board's approval and all applicable regulations. Post-construction requirements. All conditions in this section must be met prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy. Impact fees in the amount of $9,653.67 per new single-family dwelling unit must be paid to the planning department in accordance with state law and the Laconia zoning ordinance. A final as-built design application and fee for the project must be submitted to the planning department for review and approval. All internal streets will remain private unless accepted by the city council in accordance with state law and local regulations. All solid waste collection, snow removal, and maintenance services for the internal streets must be provided by the HOA while under private ownership, and all privately owned stormwater management and drainage structures must be properly maintained by the HOA. The completion date, the project and all associated conditions must be completed by no later than June 2nd, 2033. If all conditions are not met nor any extension application filed with the Laconia Planning Department by the completion date, the approval will be null and void. Additionally, there were several other conditions that were mentioned that the applicant was amenable to, such as the applicant must address and incorporate all Conservation Commission comments as presented tonight into the development and the plans and reports. Additionally, the HOA documents must include the language that was presented by Mr. Willett to include restrictions on the operation of powered vehicles such as ATVs, UTVs, and the like from operating within the designated wetland area and the surrounding buffer zones, and restrict the area to foot traffic only. And then additionally, the stormwater and drainage analysis report and plans must be revised as required by the project manager and in accordance with all applicable regulations and best practices. That's everything.
You talk, I really try hard to listen to everything you say. I sometimes can't keep up. Did you mention lighting in there?
Lighting is already addressed in your regulations. It has to be
Okay.
dark sky compliant, and they have to provide certification of that.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's in the packet, too. It's in the packet.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Gary.
Tyler, exactly how are you summarizing the page and a half from the Conservation Commission?
Certainly. I believe they have recommended conditions of approval in there.
They've got recommendations, they've got concerns, and they've got suggestions.
Yep, so with the recommendations, obviously, those will have to be incorporated through into their plans and their construction. With those suggestions and concerns, it sounds like the applicant is amenable to addressing all of those adequately.
What if
So
they're
I would
not?
say-
What
Well,
if
they said that they were, so if they're not, they had
So
their
is this
opportunity to say
something,
so.
is this gonna be, this will all be in writing?
Yes, this will all be, all of those conditions will be incorporated into the notice of
And any
action.
changes, any new things agreed to or not agreed to, that'll all be in writing, added to that, or to this?
What do you mean changes?
Well,
So I think the question is now, is there's a Conservation Commission where they're going to finalize their comments tomorrow evening at 5 PM, I believe. So it'd be taking those, any changes to the recommended conditions of approval from that June 3rd meeting from Conservation Commission and incorporating them into the final approval.
that was my question, thank you. So, okay. Okay, that's it?
That's all I had.
All right, Rob, did you have anything?
I feel like that's a lot of conditions. I'm probably good with that.
Okay. Go ahead, Counselor.
I would just like to iterate that these are all in writing. I'd like to stem off what Mr. Cheney from 61 Pickerel Pond Road said, that let's make sure we have these all,
100%.
our I's dotted and our T's crossed.
Yeah, we have 5 business days to draft up your written decision, which is basically all the conditions I mentioned and read into the record here that will be included in your minutes, but we also have to provide a separate written decision by this board, which includes the findings of fact, which I always read, as well as the conditions. So everything that was discussed, and including these 3 additional conditions, will be incorporated, and I will even spell out the conditions specifically from the Conservation Commission's recommendations.
As much as I'd like to move the clock, move us along for the clock, I just want to ask again about the condition of the road. So any damage to the road,
Yep.
no matter what it is,
Yep.
no matter which end it's on,
Yep.
Is going to be, that cost of that will be passed on to the developer. There's no limit to that. I mean, if the damage turns out to be $500,000, God forbid, or more, that's something that the developer would be responsible for?
Correct.
Not the city?
Correct. What would happen is DPW will estimate how much they think that they're going to need in a bond or escrow to begin with. They'll do an analysis, I believe at the beginning and at the end of the project, to determine any damage that was done, and then whatever the actual cost will be passed
Okay,
on to the developer.
And what about on the sections where there's dirt roads? If that because I've seen this in other projects, if there's a lot of dust that's caused, it coats the houses that they're going by, or their flower beds or whatever. Will that be addressed?
Usually they
That
bring
that
in
is
one of
also
those water
addressed
trucks.
in the,
Wait, will that be addressed? is
we
what
do
I want.
address that in the pre-construction meeting.
Okay, so that'll be covered then?
Yep.
In writing?
And we require them to do that at their expense. The city does not go out there and do that.
And because it's on a city street, it'll be a construction agreement
So
with
if a
DPW.
property owner sees something or says, hey, I've caused this damage to whatever it is, they would come to the planning department or to who?
No, they go to DPW, and DPW addresses it.
Right, because the agreement will be with DPW.
Our project manager, who
Yes,
goes
I
out
know.
there on a weekly basis, also will report that to DPW and would talk to the developer about it. And he is very diligent
I
in
know he
doing
is.
that.
He does a good job.
He does.
Anything else from anybody? I will entertain a motion. I don't know what it is.
I'll
Doreen?
move to approve application PB 2026032 for Pickerel Pond Road with the findings of the fact and conditions of approval presented in the staff report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Conant. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in favor, opposed? Oh, you're in favor too? That's 8 then. So that's unanimous, okay. Now, we're gonna take a quick break so this gentleman can use the men's room, and anybody else needs to go to the restrooms. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for,
Thank you.
for the residents.
Good time for refreshments.
These are nice pictures.
They're beautiful pictures, and it's really nice to see that.
We've got a
I think they
very
actually
delicious
have to stay with the
water fountain just
department
down
in
the
the
hallway.
file.
It
It's
is,
submitted.
it is,
It's
So
a
it's
very
up to
nice
them.
one, I will admit that, yes.
it is, it offers the most excellent city water that's available.
Counselor, Doreen? Let's go, kids, we're gonna start now.
Sorry.
I got it, I don't know why I got it.
Okay, next we're gonna go to 8.3. This is PB 2026-045. Thank you. So 2026-045, Meredith Crossing, 114-252-2. The applicant is proposing a commercial site plan for watercraft storage. We need an acceptance on this?
You have 4 waivers to review.
Of course we do. You think we're gonna get done in 45
okay.
minutes?
You can do it.
All right, we're, sure. Who's gonna propose the waivers?
Gotta get to it.
Hello, I'm Brian Iskey, part of Meredith Crossing. I thought there was a change that we've decided not to ask for any waivers on this particular project.
If you don't request the waivers, your application is incomplete and can't be heard before the board.
All right? I was told no waivers, so.
Do you don't want
Do
the
you have a-
waivers?
Well, do you have a list of them? I don't have them, actually,
So,
in my paperwork.
Section 6 of the site plan review regulations, it was a request to deviate from the application contents required for submission. Section 6.7 of the site plan review regulations request to deviate from the outdoor lighting requirements. Section 7.5 of the site plan review regulations request to deviate from stormwater and drainage requirements. And Section 7.11 of the site plan review regulations request to deviate from the landscaping requirements.
Yes, okay. That I'd heard of something about that, and he just reminded me of it. Should we start with landscaping? Just easy to go for.
Start with the first one.
No, again, since it's not on my list, I don't have, can you read which one is the first one? I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Yep. I'm pulling it up here. Give me 1 second. It's going
That's
to be.
the request to deviate from the application contents required for submission.
Yeah.
Which would be plan, or,
All of the required documentations and plans that are required for submission.
okay, I guess the explanation is that this is such a simple particular project. It's a parking lot. Basically, all it's gonna be is ledge pack, completely permeable everywhere, no well. There'll be no septic, no cement, no foundations, nothing, just an apron coming in along with guardrail and then an electric gate. And then there'll be individual spots laid out for someone to come in and park a trailer or a boat for pull in and pull out. There will be dead time in the winter where they just do winter storage. We cover the boats, and the boats stay in place, so there's no need for really snow removal and things like that. So that's kind of why we asked for that. Any questions?
I have a question then.
Yes, Rich.
Are you doing any cut and fill?
No. No, basically what we're gonna do is just fill, yes, we're gonna plan on filling just the ledge pack in. The only thing that would be cut would be, we're gonna make sure that the road is at the correct grade. So we'd bring a dozer in just to make sure the road is the accurate grade to maintain under city ordinance for fire and all that stuff for emergency vehicles. And that's really it.
But-
Everything else is gonna be filled in.
You look at topo, you got some places where you're gonna need in excess of probably 3 feet of fill.
Well, there's an area that, the topo, we're building almost all to the left. There's just a swale on the right that catches some water, then it perks underneath. So basically, our current use right now is, we're planning on just using what's available space that we can put the fill in without a lot of, we looked at a whole redevelopment of the lot and a whole engineering plan for that. We had decided not to. Less than 2 feet. Yes, less than 2 feet, in other words.
Okay. What's your maximum disturbance?
Maximum disturbance as far as square footage?
Yeah.
Well, I can't, it'd be minimal, I would think.
So-
The road, you're talking about maybe total 6,000 to 7,000 feet, sorry?
Mr. Chair, if I might.
Yeah.
We have to decide on the waivers first before we start actually discussing the application itself. So the first waiver is for all the contents outlined in Section 6 of the site plan regulations, which includes a proposed site plan, an existing conditions plan, a proposed utilities and drainage improvements plan, an architectural plan, a property survey plan, a landscape plan. Additionally, there's requirements for each plan, the most important one being the seal of the preparer of the plan. The plan that they did provide does not include a seal of
We
an
would
engineer.
provide that. We would probably go ahead and provide
So,
that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I don't think this would be responsible
board to go forward with the lack of information that is requested on the variances. And I'm not trying to stop what you're trying to do, but we need answers to questions that you aren't able to give us answers to.
Right, yeah.
And I think at this point, we don't accept it as an application that's complete. And I'll make a motion at that.
So,
I would second that.
Okay, so go ahead, make your motion.
But just
All
so
right, go
we
ahead.
understand.
This is for the waivers we're talking
Correct,
still.
correct. So what we've done in the past for waivers, and it's really the board's option here, what you guys would like to do, you can either choose not to approve the waivers and then deny the application as not complete. They'll go back, get all the information, come back to you guys.
Right.
Or what you can do is continue it to next month's meeting to give them time to prepare, get the documents that you guys need as outlined in the waivers.
I like B.
Okay.
I would agree.
I like B.
All right, so let's cut right to the chase.
That's on the, so whether there's amount of time for it or not is up to the applicant. If they can't get all the required documents in the allotted time to get here for next month, then they would have to request a continuance.
Which they can do.
Which they can do.
All right, so
Would this be for all?
one of you are about to make a motion on
I
this.
would make a motion that we continue this until the applicant.
No.
Am I using the wrong terminology?
So what we would actually want to do is we would want to deny the waivers. And then after we've made that motion and it's been voted on, then it is not a complete application and we could say we want to continue it until the next month so that they
We
can.
would submit the waiver.
Which means the clock hasn't started.
Okay.
I make a motion that we denied the waivers as presented tonight.
I second that.
All right, it's been made by Dave and seconded by,
Sorry, Dave, is that all the waivers or just the one that we're discussing now?
It's all the waivers that were requested
Okay.
as tonight to
Four.
make a complete application.
so that was made by Dave and seconded by Gail. Is-
Okay, I just didn't know if we had to take them up
No,
separately or
Okay,
if
so
we
it's
could
been
do them all at
seconded by
once.
Gail. Is there any
Okay.
more discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you in July.
See you in July, or if you need a
We're going to
continuance.
need a motion to continue the acceptance until July.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, unanimous, all right, thank you. Okay, so now we're gonna go to, we're gonna go to 8.4, PB 2026-048, 777-781 Union Avenue, 367-220-33 and 34. The applicant is proposing to merge both lots and amend the current site plan to construct a 2,500 square foot addition to connect the existing structures. And I can't wait.
Yeah,
Please introduce yourself.
sure, Mike
We
Locken,
got,
Pockets.
wait, I gotta accept,
You gotta accept it
We gotta
first.
accept it.
There are no waivers, so we just
Hold-
need a motion to accept.
Finally.
Motion to accept.
By Gail, seconded by Rich, all in favor? Okay, it's unanimous, thank you. Okay, now,
Mike Locken, Pockets Properties.
thank you.
You're welcome. How are you guys tonight?
Please, so what is your proposal?
Pretty simple. So we own the Opera House.
Right.
And we also own Sir Winston's Cigar Lounge, which is right next to it. So we are going to put a rooftop deck on top of Sir Winston's. I'll get this thing all out of here. And we're going to use some of that for storage for the Opera House, and we're going to connect the two. And so we basically are just putting that together, joining those
So
together.
there'll be a storage facility and then the rooftop on top of the storage
No,
facility?
no, it's just a rooftop deck, and some of it will incorporate some storage, and then some will have outdoor space.
Outdoor space?
Correct.
For nice weather, okay.
Mr. Chair, that's not going to affect parking or anything. You're really just going up.
Nope, they were previously approved for performance zoning. They're just amending their site plan, so they have the parking requirement
Okay,
that they need.
all right.
So
Okay, thanks.
continue, please. Is that it?
Yeah, that's really it. We just joined two lots together.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you had anything else. Go ahead,
No.
Doreen.
Before it shows a merger of 36, which is 27 Clinton Street, how does that come into effect here? Because that's mentioned quite a bit in the application. How is 27 Clinton Street? Is that going to merge into from 3 to 2 to 1? Or how is that coming into play?
I believe, yeah, you want to address that, or you want me to? I think 27 Clinton Street was the parking lot, am I correct? You can take that?
So there was a discrepancy in the
Can I just
records.
get your name?
Yep, so my name's Josh Marshall. I'm an attorney at Westcott Law. I represent the applicant. There was a discrepancy in the records that we noticed earlier this year.
concerning 2020 application. And that was a 2020 application to merge 27 Clinton, which was basically just the parking lot with the Opera House. That application was accepted. Two different heads of the snake applied to two different things at the same time. This was February and March of 2020. We all remember what was happening then, so there was just an error. I can't explain to you why or what happened, but essentially what happened was someone subsequent to that approval erroneously conveyed one of those, but not both of those lots out. I think that arguably that deed was ineffective as a matter of law. We spoke with the assessing department, we spoke with the planning department here, and just to clear things up, just so that the registry of deeds was definitely certainly correct and accurate with respect to the assessing department, we just went ahead and quit claims what was possibly arguably conveyed back over to Paugus Union 2 LLC. So now they're both the same lot. Paugus Union 2 LLC owns both of those two, the parking lot and the, yeah. And so now we're then merging the third lot in connection with this application.
Okay, Gary's got a
So
question.
if I understand then, the Opera House lot and the Clinton Street lot have been already merged?
Correct.
So you're gonna just merge the Sir Winston's lot with
Correct.
the other two lots that were previously merged?
Exactly correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead, Dave.
The height of the addition that you're putting on top of the cigar shop? If you just have an idea of a number so that.
It's not gonna go above the.
They spent a lot of money on that, so they might as well be able to show it.
Show it off.
That's one story. One story. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
And it's on the back of the building, if you will, from Union Ave.
that is correct.
Okay.
Is
Yes.
is that going to affect the view from the residents next door in any way, shape, or form? I have not looked at it close,
No,
but I'm,
because they'd be looking at the Opera House.
Yeah, you'd be looking at the Opera House. There's no view other than the side of a building.
well, I'm thinking more about the sky and stuff like that, so, okay. And what about, I guess it wouldn't go out better from the back either. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions?
I'm sorry?
Cigar smoke.
Oh, yeah, we're comedy hour, no wonder. All right. Okay, any other questions? Okay, oh, go ahead, Doreen.
Of course I do. I just have, and you might have already mentioned this. So in your staff report, it's listed as a commercial site plan amendment in the urban district.
Correct.
But it doesn't reference performance zoning. So
Because
can
it
you
was-
clarify, because it's under the 24,500?
Yes.
2,500 under the 3,000?
So what happened is for the original two lots that they had talked about for the Opera House, that was already approved for performance zoning. With the merging of this lot, they're now adding this lot to the Opera House, which was previously approved for performance zoning, and now they're gonna combine this building with the Opera House. So that connection is making it all part of the same development. It's already been approved for performance
Stays with
zoning.
Performance.
Yep.
Beautiful, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing at 8:57. Is there anybody in the public that would like to comment on this application? Why are we giggling, kids? You know, this is a serious thing. Oh, you're punch drunk now? Okay, I'll buy that.
It's past my bedtime. Way past.
Okay, not seeing anybody come forward, we'll close the public hearing at 8:57:50. Okay, so, any questions for the staff?
Staff report?
Any questions for the staff? Okay, go ahead.
So for the findings of fact, the application is complete and consistent with state and city land use regulations. The planning board submission was reviewed by the technical review committee at its May 19th, 2026 meeting. Their comments have been incorporated in the recommended conditions of approval, which are: plans must be revised and submitted to the planning department that show the two lots and the proposed conditions of the site on a single plan. The applicant must possess all required permits and approvals granted by federal, state, and municipal boards or agencies. All permits and approvals must be in place prior to the signing, recording of final plans, and notice of decision. Should any permit or approval be revoked at any time during the project, all work must cease until a new permit or approval is obtained. Copies of all permits and approvals must be provided by the applicant to the planning department. 4 final plan sets must be submitted to, reviewed, and approved by the planning department. The planning board notice of decision must be recorded at the Belknap County Registry of Deeds at the applicant's expense. The applicant must adhere to all specifications as required by the Laconia Fire Department. The applicant must adhere to all specifications as required by the Laconia Water Department. The planning department will perform routine inspections during and after construction to ensure compliance with the planning board's approval and all applicable regulations. Prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy, impact fees in the amount of $4.71 per additional square foot of floor space must be paid to the planning department in accordance with state law and the Laconia zoning ordinance. A final as-built design application and fee for the project must be submitted to the planning department for review and approval. The project and all associated conditions must be completed by no later than June 2nd, 2033. If all conditions are not met, nor any extension application filed with the Laconia Planning Department by the completion date, this approval will be null and void.
Okay, any other questions?
I make a
David,
motion- I
go
make a
ahead.
I
motion.
did have one quick question, I'm sorry, Dean.
All right, Gail, go ahead.
I mean, you could probably answer this, Charlie. Is this, either of these buildings, any historical significance that we may be altering
No,
by
they're-
putting this on?
They're not going to alter anything. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, David.
My motion is to, excuse me, is to approve application PB 2026-048 for 777 and 781 Union Ave with the finding of facts and conditions for the approval presented by the staff report.
Seconded by Councilor Conant. Any discussion? All in favor? Raise your hands. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. If I had known that, not that it's a bad thing, but the other application was gonna take so long, I would have made a motion to bump you to the front, because it would have been the right thing to do.
Thank you.
We're not putting any wells in,
No
so you
problem.
don't-
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Okay, let's move right along here, because time is short. We have the Planning Department monthly report, and I believe we have a report from,
So before I start my report, I have Wes Anderson here, who is our brand-new project manager, and he is going to go over some strategic planning goals and initiatives that we have been working on, and hope to have finished this year.
and thank you for waiting, Wes.
That's not a problem.
So he also teaches woodworking, just so everybody's aware. That is where he just came from.
Yeah, I'm a little dusty, so you might not want to get too close.
That's not what we're referring to.
Okay, so let's move right along, we're running out of time. Thank you, Wes.
Are we up on the screen?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so what we're really going to talk about is Laconia 2040, the strategic planning process. It so happens 2040 because that's what the master plan is targeting for. So it is really the strategic thought process that we've been bouncing around. And yes, I have stolen it from the military, who stole it from other municipalities, so it's back municipal again. Okay, realistically, is where do we want to be? That's the first element of strategic plan, and how do we get there? Where do we want to be is the master plan 2040, and then how do we get there is how we're going to track that development that's in the master plan, and then how we're going to support that development. That's both infrastructure and the municipal services piece, really the people who are operating the trucks, managing the parks, handling all the taxes. That's what the piece we're talking about. Okay, so where are we in the planning sequence? You got two pieces to it. You got the strategic planning process itself, then you have the supportive planning process. So right now, we've got the master plan underway. As part of that master plan, the staff has to determine really what is called service metrics. In other words, if you got a new 1,000-person development coming in, what does that mean for increased staff, increased equipment to support that 1,000-person development? The other piece to it is, we got costs associated with, that's on the service metric side. The revenue tells you how much generation you're gonna have from that new development. On the city council side, and the next step in the strategic planning process, you got your zoning ordinance. That really enforces the piece where you want to be in 2040. Then you got the level of service, which simply put is, the way to think of it is, these are the service the municipality performs right now. that same level of service has to be able to support the new development coming in. If we don't have enough money, then there's two options. You either gotta raise more money somehow, or you gotta determine what changes are in the level of service. And then that level of service and that increase develops the supporting city organization structure, which then develops the infrastructure portion to be able to support that development. And when we look at it, we're not, it is two elements. The big one, state school property, 2,400 units, but you also go worry about the death by 1,000 cuts, which is, this 26 unit, we're talking about Pickerel Pond, another 26 unit that's coming up on maybe White Oaks Road, all that adds up. If you're not considering that as part of the process, eventually your level of service is going down. Okay, so where do we want to go? We know the master plan has been funded, completion fall of 2026. Then the planning board is responsible for adopting that master plan. Politically, we'll brief the city council so they get a chance to look at it, but that's the way that piece goes. On the zoning ordinance side, it's the opposite. You get a chance to look at it, but it's the city council who adopts it. Cost money to develop that, because we really don't have the staff in-house. It was number 7 on the 2027 CIP list. It didn't make the funding line. On the May 18th budget presentation by the planning department, it got favorable consideration. They haven't passed it per se, but we think it's going to be in there. So that will get us going on the zoning ordinance changes once we get the master plan done. Okay, so the next is how do we get there? There's one piece that we really got to start talking about. That's attracting or putting us in a position we're going to attract the development that matches our master plan. So looking at what other municipalities have done, they've streamlined their permitting process. That could be a one-stop shop for all of the permits. They only have to go to one place. I worked in the city of Greenville, North Carolina, where every single code enforcement was all in the same building. They may have worked for other people, but they were there. Any weirdest piece on that? I was, as the director of public works there, I was also the boss of the code enforcement section. So things are different every places. Okay, you got to implement smart and flexible zoning so that they're really interested in coming in. Makes it real easy for them to do the development. Then you got to leverage whatever financial incentives that are out there. You got the 79E, you got the TIF, and interesting enough, in doing some research for it, there's actually a statewide exemption for commercial and industrial construction piece that we're looking at now. Of course, we got to invest ourselves in the additional infrastructure if they're going out there, whether it's water, sewer, or drainage for it. Conversely, we got to get the private utilities, gas and electricity, to do their infrastructure to do it. I mean, right now, with what we're seeing in natural gas, that's going to put a little bit of a choke in anything in the urban core. If somebody wants something, they want to be on natural gas, it's not available right now. And then got to have a good marketing plan. We got to sell the city, to the developers on why they want to come and develop here, whether it be residential, commercial, or industrial. Okay, we're in the middle of the process to develop our service metrics and our revenue metrics. In February and March, we had training for the department heads and for the staff. We've been meeting in the interim. In the July-August timeframe, the departments are going to finish their analysis so we can start preparing the brief to the city manager on what the service metrics are. In September, we brief the city manager. He gives us whatever guidance we want to tweak it, and then brief the city council towards the end of September. And October, we get the metrics approved. Conversely, on the other side of the house that's being done in synchronization with it, planning department and assessing is already working to develop what is the sources of revenue and what expectation are we going to be able to generate. So on the left side, we've got our costs. On the right side, we got our revenue. So it's a good picture to the council in regards to what the development's costing us and can we cover those costs. One of the things we're gonna see, especially when you see the state school property, just because of the lead time for certain things like fire trucks, ambulances, and others, we may be spending money before we got the revenue coming in. And so we're gonna have to start looking at the synchronization of that. So components of the strategic plan itself, what we've sort of been packaging for it, we're gonna have to have one that we haven't really titled yet, but it's basically that portion dealing with attracting development to the city. 79E, 7281, which is the commercial industrial opportunity zones and TIF. That's basically what we're gonna have to work with. Business and economic development 2040. This is more not so attracting them in, we want to attract in the ones we want. So it's jobs as career, we saw that we got the Lakes Region Community College here, so it can help support training for whatever jobs that are coming in. Then we've got the municipal services 2040, which is really the level of service portion. What are we going to do planning-wise to provide that support to all the new development coming in? Whereas municipal organization 24, municipal facilities 2040 is really organization structure, manpower. Are we going to have to create new, not departments, but subgroups in the department? Parks may grow so large that they got a separate parks, and a separate building team. Or building may go to public works to let parks just focus on the parks piece. Facilities, police department, fire department, if they have to expand more, they're pretty much locked into what they've got. So either we're figuring out how to expand the police department on site, or we're having to build another substation someplace to do it. And the fire department's already working on that. Additionally, a subset to that, I just stress it a little bit because we're gonna have to, if you throw another 5,000 more people on it, we got a parks problem. You're gonna have ball fields, you're gonna have other things. So there's probably a very large subset associated with Parks 2040. And then one that we've already started to a degree already is what is our parking plan? More people coming in, more people want to come downtown, more people want to come to the Colonial. Additionally, with what the state's been doing and reducing the amount of required parking spaces per unit, that's generating more vehicle issues for us. Where do we put them all? That's what we're working on. That's part of that 2040 plan. So that's where our target is as a planning staff, looking at it from using my terminology. If this was a division headquarters, the planning staff is the division's planning. We're always looking out to see what we have to do in the future for it, and that's what we're doing now in the planning department. Questions?
Just one quick question, probably not to be addressed tonight, Wes. Right, question after your own heart. Where does all this development that we've done fit into the Winnipesaukee River Basin project?
Okay, we'll break it into two pieces.
Yep.
Okay, we don't have a problem with the treatment plant.
Right.
The treatment plant is like 11.5 million gallons capacity. On a good day when we're maxing out, we're more like about 6 million gallons.
And that's down in Franklin.
That's down in Franklin.
That's down in Franklin.
So that's the piece, the actual treatment portion isn't. There may be some things that have to be done in regards to the pump stations along the way to increase the capacity.
But do you consider us to be in good shape?
Yes, from the standpoint of the pump station. Now, let's put it this way, they're getting old.
I
So
know the
there's a
project's
maintenance
almost
piece to
60
it,
years old,
but,
so.
yes. So that's a different problem, but we have the capacity in the treatment plant.
On the other side of the coin, how about water capacity?
Water capacity, they actually have the ability, because they're not producing water all day. So the initial piece would be just looking at, do they gotta go to a shift and a half or 2 shifts? And then runs longer on the weekend or something to be able to generate the water.
And there's enough storage.
And then, right, there's enough storage for it. It's more of production to keep the storage full. If it gets to a certain point, they actually have 1 train left that has never been built or installed in it. So that would generate more water production.
Probably at the state school, they need a tower.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that's just for
that's that
pressure.
already.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Wes, thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
Good job. And thank you again for waiting.
Yes, thank you, Wes.
Yep.
I appreciate
My
that.
wife actually may appreciate it because I cooled down a bit.
I just want to highlight, this would be the first time that we'd have a real strategic plan moving forward for the city and looking at all of these variables moving forward, and looking at the amount of development we have. We're trying to go back in time, and what year was it, Wes, that we picked, that we wanted to go?
2017?
2017 we went back in history, looking at approvals to try to get numbers for all these approvals going up for, this is what we're looking at over time to kind of calculate it all out, what services would cost, what increases have been done and what we need, and then kind of figuring out what trigger points we need as we move forward. So this is going to be a really great project, and we look forward to presenting it to you more. We just wanted to make sure you all know these are things that we're working on, thinking about. We're not just looking at the projects coming today. We're thinking about where we're going to be in the next 15 to 20 years and how we plan for that. We just want everybody to be aware, these are things that we think about and that we're working on. And we wouldn't have had this capability if City Council hadn't approved us having a project manager position to give us the bandwidth to do that. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you, Rob.
We now have a spreadsheet that tracks what's under construction and what's in the pipeline to get approved. And we're about 3,500 units someplace in the pipeline.
That have been either approved or built, or that's, since what, 2017?
No, this is just the recent ones.
Oh, well,
So
what do you
all the
call
ones that are under
recent?
construction now and all the ones that are.
2021?
I would say in the last 2 years.
Years, yeah.
Basically since we've been here.
So
Yep.
someplace along that line, we've got 3,500 new units. This does not include the state school.
No,
No,
this
it includes
does
the state
include
school.
the state
Oh,
school.
oh, it does
Yep.
include,
Yes.
okay,
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, all right.
That's everything.
And that document, which is a great document, was part of Rob's budget presentation. At the end of the budget presentation, those facts are drawn out in a table, and it's very, very useful.
It is on your, it's on our agenda tonight. The whole PowerPoint is, you can download it. The link is right there. I have provided that same document to all of the residents that came in for the master plan forum. So they had all that information of all these developments have come in, and it's got a map associated with it, so you can see where everything's, and it's really painting a very clear picture of where all the development is happening. So we can really plan for things, but then I think it also comes into demonstrating, oh my God, we have all this development happening here. Where do we really want it? And hopefully this master plan is gonna say,
How do we direct it?
how do we direct it? And then we need to adopt the zoning ordinance to really make it happen. Yeah, I am on my big soapbox of, hey, we gotta advocate for this. So.
Do we vote to approve a strategic plan, or is this just what's happening?
So we have not had one to my knowledge.
I don't
It's
know
never been
that.
annotated, so this is gonna be, we're kind of in uncharted waters. So we're kind of reaching out to the city manager and kind of playing this by ear of what do we want to do? How do we want to do this? What do we want it to look like? We're kind of looking at how other places have done it. There's a lot of places that haven't. And trying to tie in CIP with all of these things and look at all of these things over the next. So we're really trying to create a good product. We do not know exactly what it's going to look like.
We have an idea.
But we have a great idea.
Okay, we're gonna run out of time here if we wanna get the rest of this agenda. And thank you again, Wes.
Thanks, Wes.
So on that, so one of the documents we provided tonight, impact fees go up by the COLA each year and by 5%. We adopted at 50%, so we'll go 5% each year until we've reached 100% plus the cost of inflation. So with that, there's an updated table for that.
When does that become effective?
July 1st. So
Yep.
we align the inflation rate and the year with the budget each year, so it is just a natural progression of things.
Quick question on that for clarification. 26 units on Pickerel Pond Road, we know what the impact fee is based on today's date. If some of those building permits come in after July of next year, does that change that, or are they locked in?
So you are locked in at the time of your planning board application. So if you submitted,
Perfect.
there's a
You
plan case.
answered it.
Okay.
Yep.
And then
Thank
you're safeguarded from changes in that for 7 years.
I said, there's a time, it's time barred, and I
Yep,
didn't
after
remember
that
if it
7
was 6 or
years,
7.
you're protected from changes in the zoning ordinance. However, you are not protected from impact fees. And the state changed that law to protect municipalities from the cost increases and inflation and all that. So even the state was cognizant of, oh my God, if we don't protect the municipalities, they could be overwhelmed by the increase of, so Yes. The monthly report, my budget presentation is in there if you want to take a look at that. We are going to, I'll just give you the highlight of my budget report. We are working very hard right now. A lot of information has come out as we've been working on the master plan. And one of the key things that has come out by a lot of residents, particularly on White Oaks Road and some of these rural areas that they want to preserve, that is heritage neighborhoods. This is a relatively new land use tool that's only been used by one other municipality in the state of New Hampshire, and it's Stratham that's been using it. So we have scheduled a public forum for it. I just finalized everything today on it. It is going to be June 30th at 6:30 p.m. It will be at the library. I have a subject matter expert, Martha Cummins from the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance, Brandy Laughlin from the DNCR, hopefully will also be able to attend, and the gentleman who manages the district itself from Stratham will also be there to talk about how it's managed, how it's worked for them, and lessons learned. And then we'll open it up for public comment for anybody that wants to ask questions. But that is scheduled for June 30th. We're going to do a newspaper posting for that, and it'll be in the Laconia links. We'll send that out with a kind of a brief excerpt of what it is. And this could be one of the tools that's adopted if the funding for the zoning ordinances is moved forward. But it should be a key finding as part of the master plan. Since I think almost all of the 60 residents that came out said, oh my God, we're seeing a lot of development, what can we do? So I think that will be very, very much highlighted. That is also in there, and I'll touch on that. The findings from all of those master plan forms will be available to the public at the next master plan steering committee meeting, which is on June 25th at 6 p.m. Our contractor will go over all of the findings so that will all become public.
Does anybody have any burning liaison reports that we have to hear? Okay. I just want to go to other business. I just want to say something about that Pickle Pond situation. I did take a little exception where I believe he's an attorney, got up and started talking about regulations. I just want to remind everybody that the town of Nottingham has regulations too. And the developer that wanted to put the data center there, whatever you call it there, was well within his rights to do that. He owns the property. He probably fit within the regulations. But the town, not Barnstead, it was Barrington. It was Nottingham, but there's a town right next to them that was going to be affected because of water situations. They were very concerned about the water and the power. They came out en masse to make, like kind of what we had tonight, to make their feelings heard. That developer smelled the coffee and withdrew his application. It's not a bad thing to hear from residents. And I don't want, I'm sure nobody here feels like that we're buttonholed, that we have to do this stuff. You know, we have to listen to our residents, and we make our decisions at the end. And the other place I will point to is Cottonwood Road? What's that, there were,
Hill?
No,
Cottonwood Avenue?
up next to the Taylor home there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Cottonwood Ave.
I don't know if any of you were around then or if you remember that, but there was a big hoopla over that road
Cul-de-sac.
there in the cul-de-sac. And we were kind of told, as a planning board, you can't do anything about this. But we did. And that did go to court, and the court made the decision, and it was on our finding that they decided that. So I'm not saying that we did anything wrong tonight. I think we did. Our staff did a very good job. I just want to remind everybody that when somebody gets up and says, you must do this because of the law or regulations, like, that's not always the case. And we need to listen. And
Well, that's what I said. It's a balancing act. We do have to act in the best interest of the most people, and sometimes
I
people
think we
will be
need to act
offended.
in the best interest of the residents of Laconia.
Yeah, and that's
Because
what I'm
that's
saying.
our number
You know,
one-
that's really our
number one
mandate.
concern. And
You
you know
know.
what? If something hits the fire, it won't be just us that's going to hear from it. It'll be the council and the city manager. So we're kind of like really the first line, I think, for some of this stuff.
This is why we need
So-
to finish the master plan and get the zoning.
Well,
right.
Agreed. I couldn't say that more.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the
hasn't been
state
worked
law
on.
has
But
always ruled the balancing act.
again, master plan or not, if something comes up that the master plan approves of, and it freaks out a neighborhood or the citizens of the city, so be it. That will all come up to them. Nothing is etched in cement. Anyway, I want to thank you all, because I think everybody asked a lot of good questions tonight, and we did a good, I think the board and the staff did a good job. It's what we have to work with. You too, Wes. Seeing nothing else tonight, make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
I can't make it. You.
Okay, second, however.
I'll make a motion.
All right. All in
Second,
favor, raise your
however.
hands, please.
Hey, unanimous.
Thank you very much. Look at that, 9:24. Beautiful.
What number?
Hey, you're due.